Chapter 3649. Li Ruolan's eyes narrowed as she was surprised by Chu Li's answer. There were no clues about Mo Qingqing's death. She was first hit by the Destiny Clan's hidden weapon and then by a sword. The Destiny Clan was a faction in the Qiu dynasty that specialized in hidden weapons. The disciples of the Destiny Clan were unscrupulous in the Li dynasty. Many martial arts masters were killed by their hidden weapons. This time, it was a disciple of the Destiny Clan who killed Mo Qingqing. The disciples of the Destiny Clan had tried to assassinate Zhao Dai, so Zhao Dai was also related to the Destiny Clan. Li Ruolan was merely asking and did not take it seriously as she thought Chu Li would deny it. Even if he was the one who killed Mo Qingqing, he could deny it because it was almost flawless and there were no loopholes. He could only treat it as a death by the Destiny Clan. She did not expect Chu Li to admit it. This caused her to be caught in a dilemma. Li Ruolan scoffed. Zhao Dai, think carefully before you speak. Do you know how to punish a fellow disciple? Chu Li shook his head. Li Ruolan said, abolish your martial arts, recover your inheritance, and banish you from the Holy Church of Light forever. Chu Li furrowed his brows and said, she was the one who hired the Destiny Clan to kill me first. Moreover, she tried to assassinate me again and again. I couldn't take it anymore. You can look for me. Li Ruolan scoffed. I'll give you an explanation if you look for the Holy Church. Chu Li shook his head. The Destiny Clan is only assassins. They can't find the mastermind. Even if I report them this time, I'll have no choice but to settle this once and for all. I'll kill whoever wants to kill me. Li Ruolan scoffed and said, if you really kill her, then all your previous efforts will go to waste. Chu Li replied, I don't want to lie to Miss Ruolan or the saint. It's true that I killed Mo Qingqing, but if someone else were to ask me about it, I'll never admit it. I killed the people from the Destiny Clan first, then snatched their hidden weapons to deal with Mo Qingqing. Then, I shifted the blame to the Destiny Clan. Li Ruolan had mixed feelings. She sighed. There's nothing flawless in this world. What other flaws? Chu Li asked with a frown. Li Ruolan said, the Destiny Clan tried to assassinate you before. That's a loophole. Chu Li said, that's easy. The Destiny Clan has ulterior motives. They wanted to kill me and Mo Qingqing at the same time. In the end, I managed to escape the assassination, but Mo Qingqing didn't. The people from the Destiny Clan are too despicable. Li Ruolan could not help but laugh. She shook her head and said, you're really clever when it comes to killing people. Chu Li said, if I killed someone for no reason, I'll accept the punishment according to the church's rules. However, I did it in self-defense, so I had no choice but to kill her. I shouldn't be punished, right? Li Ruolan shook her head. I don't think he'll be able to escape. No matter what, no matter how many reasons he has, it's a serious crime to kill a fellow disciple. He'll be punished. All right then, I'll accept any punishment. Chu Li scoffed. But if you want to cripple my martial arts and expel me from the Holy Church of Light, I won't accept it. You. Li Ruolan sighed. You really make me worry. By the way, are you close with the Tian Luo sect? Chu Li said, it's all thanks to their help that I was able to escape the White Tiger sect's encirclement. If it weren't for their help, I would have fled back to the Great Light Peak a long time ago. The Tian Luo sect. Li Ruolan muttered. Chu Li asked, is there anything wrong with that? Forget it. Li Ruolan said, you have to be careful. Don't count the money for someone else when you're being sold. Chu Li said proudly, who can sell me? There's also the White Tiger sect. Li Ruolan sighed. Enough is enough. Don't force them anymore. If they really push you too far, killing you will be a piece of cake. Of course. Chu Li nodded. By the way, I helped the Tian Luo sect to destroy the Church of the Bloody Garment a few days ago. Li Ruolan frowned. They're a branch of the Church of the Divine Blood in southern Jing. You can't underestimate them. Moreover, they're all lunatic. They won't rest until they're dead. How did you get involved with them? They've been wiped out anyway. Chu Li put on a proud expression. They're all stupid. They won't run away even if they can't win. They just want to die. The Church of the Bloody Garment isn't that bad. The Church of the Divine Blood is the scary one. Li Ruolin said, It's best not to get involved with them. Your cultivation level has improved greatly. She felt that Chu Li's aura was like a mountain. It was much stronger than when he was at the small light peak. Chu Li beamed with joy and told her about his discovery. Li Ruolin was surprised. She never knew that martial arts could be cultivated in this way. That's why I'll stay here until the martial arts competition starts. Chu Li smiled. Cultivating in isolation here is 6 to 7 times better than cultivating in isolation at the small light peak. It's a tremendous improvement. I just don't know if there'll be any repercussions, Li Ruolin said. Chu Li said, Let's not worry about that for now. We'll talk about it after I cultivate. I'll go back and report to the saint immediately. I'll report what happened to you to her. Li Ruolin scoffed. I don't think the saint will show you any mercy. Just wait for your punishment. Chu Li straightened his neck and said, I'll be punished then. I'll kill people like this the next time I meet them. Then don't even think about becoming an inner mountain disciple. Li Ruolin said snappily. You're just acting on impulse. What can you achieve? What's the point of living if I have to endure humiliation? Chu Li scoffed. I cultivate martial arts so that I can avenge myself, not to be bullied. Li Ruolin glared at him and did not say anything else. This was because everyone had a different point of view. There was no way to convince them. Moreover, Zhao Dai was a stubborn donkey. In the Basilica of the Great Light Peak, Li Ruolin stood in front of the saint, Sun Mingyue, and reported what Chu Li had said. Sun Mingyue stood up and left the table. She walked to the bottom of the stairs and paced with her hands behind her back. Her steps were graceful. Her clothes were as white as snow, and her face was covered with a white veil. Only her beautiful eyes could be seen. Her gaze was clear and penetrating. Saint Zhao Dai didn't actually do anything wrong. He couldn't tolerate Mo Qingqing's repeated attempts on his life. We all know his character. He won't swallow his anger, Li Ruolin said. Sun Mingyue asked, You mean you won't punish him? Just pretend you don't know, Li Ruolin said. Sun Mingyue shook her head. Since I know, I won't let him go. We won't be able to find out if he denies it, Li Ruolin said. It's rare for him to be so honest. Sun Mingyue said coldly, We can't violate the church's rules. Are we really going to cripple his martial arts? Li Ruolin exclaimed. Sun Mingyue nodded slowly. Yes, cripple his martial arts. Saint! Li Ruolin shouted. Sun Mingyue glanced at her. Li Ruolin shook her head. The church's rules are nothing more than human feelings. How can we do this? Sun Mingyue said, Since he was forced to kill, we can consider the circumstances and not pursue the inheritance. We won't expel him from the Holy Church. Saint, the martial arts competition is coming up soon. Cripple his martial arts, Li Ruolin said quickly. Sun Mingyue waved her hand and said, No one can override the church's rules. Even if he's a genius, he can't have special privileges. Chapter 3650. Sun Mingyue said, Since he's honest, give him a miracle cure pill. Li Ruolin instantly smiled. Thank you, Saint. Sun Mingyue said faintly, This is my personal reward to him. Crippling his martial arts is restricted by the sex rules, so you can't mix them together. If he violates the sex rules again, I won't be so lenient. Yes. Li Ruolin quickly nodded. I'll thank you on his behalf. You can. Sun Mingyue chuckled. You were even more anxious than him when I heard that his martial arts were crippled. Li Ruolin quickly said, I just feel that he's being wronged. He could have chosen not to tell the truth, but he did. Now, he's being punished for it. I feel that an honest person shouldn't be treated like this. How can I be a muddle-headed person? Sun Mingyue waved her hand. I won't let an honest person suffer. Let him do things honestly and cultivate diligently. Yes. Li Ruolin smiled. Sun Mingyue said, the 2 torture chamber members will go with you to cripple his martial arts. You'll supervise from the side. No favoritism is allowed, and no one is allowed to play tricks. Yes. Li Ruolin nodded. She knew her responsibility. She must not allow others to play tricks. Mo Qingqing's identity was not simple. Her uncle was an altar leader. Although he was restricted by the church's rules as an altar leader, he could not directly deal with Chu Li. However, he could use some tricks to cripple Chu Li, or purposely set him up to cause an accident. It was not too difficult. Sun Mingyue clapped her hands and a young lady in green entered. Sun Mingyue said, Get Li Chongqing and Zhao Yuanhao from the torture chamber here. Yes. The young lady in green responded crisply and left. Li Ruolin was surprised. Saint Li Chongqing and Zhao Yuanhao are related to altar leader Mo. Give them a chance. Let's see if they dare to act recklessly, Sun Mingyue said. Li Ruolin said helplessly, What if they really act recklessly and find an opportunity to kill Zhao Dai? What should we do then? As members of the disciplinary hall, they were extremely proficient in such tactics. Taking advantage of the fact that their martial arts had been crippled, they could infuriate the other party with just a few words, causing the other party to attack them out of anger. From there, they could openly injure the other party severely. When one's martial arts was crippled, one would be at their weakest. At this time, if one were to receive a palm or a punch from a grandmaster, even if one did not notice it at the time, it was very likely that one would be severely injured and die. Even if one survived, one would become a complete cripple and would not be able to cultivate anymore. This kind of vicious method was a basic method for the people of the disciplinary hall. Sun Mingyue said, Let's see if they have the guts. She clapped her hands. Another green-clothed girl gracefully walked in. Sun Mingyue said, Get the disciplinary halls Zhuingjie and Zhuinghao here. Yes. The azure-clothed girl left gracefully. Sun Mingyue said, The Zhu brothers will follow behind and hide in the shadows. If Li Chongqing and Zhao Yuanhao show favoritism, they will capture them. Saint, why go through so much trouble? Just send the Zhu brothers, Li Ruolin said helplessly. Sun Mingyue gently shook her head. This is a rare opportunity. The unlucky one is still Zhao Dai. With the miracle cure pill, what are you afraid of? Li Ruolin helplessly shut her mouth and sighed. The saint's manipulation skills were awe-inspiring. She did not trust anyone but gave them the opportunity to make mistakes. It was like fishing, throwing out the bait and seeing who would take the bait. In the beginning, many people took the bait easily. Under the strict rules of the church, no one was spared from severe punishment. They were either crippled of their martial arts or expelled from the Holy Church. Now, everyone in the church had become smarter and more honest. She was obviously using Zhao Dai as bait again to see if Li Chongqing and Zhao Yuanhao would take the bait. Great Ji Dynasty Fairy's capital, King An's residence, Tianshu Courtyard. A bright moon hung in the sky, illuminating the brightly lit courtyard as if it was daytime. When Chu Li suddenly appeared, Shao Qi's sword flashed and stabbed forward. Chu Li flicked his finger and the long sword flew out. Shao Qi frowned and stared at him. His cultivation level was getting stronger and stronger, leaving her far behind. If this continued, she would not be able to take even one hit from him. Chu Li smiled and took the long sword. With a gentle toss, he inserted it into the scabbard on Shao Qi's waist. Shao Shi put down the scroll and clapped her hands. Beautiful! Shao Qi glared at her. Both of them were dressed in spotless white clothes. Their faces looked like they were carved from white jade. Shao Shi smiled. You haven't been back for a few days. Is there something else? Chu Li smiled and sat opposite her. He sighed. I've been busy recently. The Church of the Bloody Garment besieged Tian Luo sect. I'm helping them. You still care about Tian Luo sect, Xiao Shi scoffed. Your reputation as the White Shroud Shindao has been ruined. You've become a laughingstock. Chu Li raised his eyebrows. Xiao Qi said, Feng Shui went to Snow Lunar Pavilion to challenge them. She defeated all their masters except for the pavilion leader. She challenged the White Shroud Shindao in person. Of course, the White Shroud Shindao did not show up. Chu Li sighed. He couldn't leave. Xiao Qi said, everyone thought that the White Shroud Shindao was afraid to fight and admitted defeat. Chu Li of the North and Du Feng of the South. Du Feng of the South has been replaced by Feng Shui of the South. I think Feng Shui will come to Fairy's capital soon. Chu Li said, Fairy's capital? She really dares to come. She'll definitely challenge you. Xiao Qi said, you might not be her opponent. When that time comes, Feng Shui of the South and Chu Li of the North will be Feng Shui. She'll dominate all the young talents in the world. Chu Li frowned. Don't tell me she wants to become the next enlightened master? It's highly possible. Xiao Shi said, look at her. She wants to challenge all the masters in the world. If no one can stop her, she'll become the world's #1. Then she'll be the next enlightened master. She's a woman, but she's so ambitious. Chu Li exclaimed. Is the Phoenix Flight 9th Heaven technique really that powerful? It's beyond imagination. Xiao Qi said, even Master lost to her. Is Senior Shin injured? Chu Li asked. Xiao Qi said, it's not a big deal. Xiao Shi said, Chu Li, if she really comes to Fairy's capital, will you accept her challenge? I'll challenge her as the White Shroud Shindao, Chu Li said. Xiao Shi was excited. That's a good idea. As long as you defeat her using Du Feng, she won't have the face to challenge you. Your blade technique. Xiao Qi frowned. Based on what she knew, Chu Li's sword technique was far better than his blade technique. If he were to use his blade technique to challenge Feng Shui, it would be too arrogant. It was not a wise move. Chu Li smiled. I'll study blade techniques. Then hurry up. Don't wait until Feng Shui arrives at Fairy's capital, Xiao Shi said. She was just here to watch a show. Moreover, she had complete faith in Chu Li and had never thought that Chu Li would lose. Chu Li nodded. I'll hurry. He chatted with the two women for a while more before returning to Phoenix Goddess Brothel. Phoenix Goddess Brothel was bustling with activity. As soon as he left his room, he could hear the sound of stringed instruments and giggles. The entire Phoenix Goddess Brothel was immersed in a luxurious life. He went to Bai Feng's room and knocked on the door. Bai Feng opened the door and gestured for him to come in when she saw him. The two sat down in the room. Bai Feng brushed her hair and said, Tell me, what's the matter? Senior Bai, I want a top-notch blade technique. Chu Li went straight to the point. Blade technique. Bai Feng pondered. The top-notch? Chu Li nodded. No problem. Bai Feng said, Tian Luo sect's disciples rarely cultivate blade technique. However, there are some blade manuals in the Sutra library. I'll give you the best one. Thank you, Senior. Chu Li fist saluted. Bai Feng said, The more exquisite a blade technique is, the harder it is to cultivate. Can you divert your attention to cultivate this? Chapter 3651. The Tian Luo sect acted quickly. The next evening, Yu handed him a blade manual. The two of them were sitting in a room on the second floor. There was a table full of delicious dishes and a pot of good wine. Chu Li had been cultivating for the whole day and wanted to relax. He had been using the green bamboo residence all this time. He put down the wine glass and accepted the blade manual with a smile. Thank you, thank you. Yu held the pot and filled his glass. Big brother Zhao, I don't understand. Why are you studying blade techniques now? The two of them were getting closer, and she was no longer polite to young Master Zhao. The light blade is also a blade technique. Chu Li looked at the blade manual. I want to improve the light blade, so I need to learn by analogy. Yu sat across him elegantly. The light blade is already at the 9th level. It's already so powerful. Do you still want to improve it? Chu Li smiled and nodded. The single slice of the universe. Chu Li looked at the 4 words on the blade manual and smiled. This blade technique has quite an imposing name. It's said that this blade technique is earth-shattering and earth-shattering, Yu said. However, there's a flaw. It's difficult to cultivate. Chu Li smiled. I like martial arts that are difficult to cultivate. The more difficult the martial arts, the more advantageous it was for him. The omniscient mirror and his powerful spiritual energy had given him extraordinary wisdom and comprehension. It was easy for him to cultivate martial arts. He slowly flipped open the blade manual. It was not just a page that he had imagined. Instead, it was a set of heart techniques and 36 blade technique. These 36 forms were called the energy nurturing forms. The single slice of the universe was a separate blade technique that was combined with a complicated heart technique. However, there was only one blade technique. The 36 energy nurturing forms were a method to cultivate inner energy. Each form produced a trace of inner energy that was accumulated in the body. The accumulated inner energy was then used to activate the single slice of the universe. Its power was earth-shattering. The heaven and earth could be broken with one blade, and the universe could be cut with one blade. Chu Li frowned. This was too arrogant. The heaven and earth could be broken with one blade, and the universe could be cut with one blade. He knew that such a blade technique did not exist. The exaggeration was not credible. Seeing his frown, Yu said, "Do you think the blade manual is too arrogant?" Chu Li raised his head and smiled. "I've never heard of such a powerful blade technique. According to Master, this blade technique is indeed very powerful. It has been passed down since ancient times, but after the great changes in the world, the spirit beasts moved into the 100,000 hills and the spiritual energy from heaven and earth became sparse. Hence, the power of this blade technique became much weaker," Yu said. "If this blade technique was mastered during ancient times, it would indeed be powerful enough to split mountains and rivers. Looks like it's a good blade technique." Chu Li smiled. "Alright then, I'll practice it. Big brother Zhao, don't forget that inner energy is still the most important thing," Yu said. "It's better for you to cultivate your inner energy during the day. You can study your blade techniques at night when you have the time." "That's what I was thinking." Chu Li smiled. As the sun set in the west, Chu Li appeared in his courtyard. There were already 3 people standing in the courtyard, Li Ruolin and 2 middle-aged men. Under the slanted rays of the setting sun, Li Ruolin was graceful and charming. Her charming eyes flashed with an apologetic look. The 2 middle-aged men had gloomy expressions on their faces. Their bodies were emitting a cold aura, causing people to shrink back. "Miss Ruolin, these 2 are?" Chu Li fist saluted and looked at Li Ruolin. Li Ruolin said, "These 2 are Li Chongxing and Zhao Yuanhao from the torture chamber. They're responsible for carrying out the punishment." Chu Li frowned. "What punishment?" Li Ruolin took a deep breath and said sternly, "The saint has already punished you by crippling your inner energy. Since it's pardonable, she won't take back the inheritance and won't expel you from the Holy Church. Are you satisfied?" "All right." Chu Li nodded helplessly. "I have nothing to say. Did these 2 do it to cripple my inner energy?" "That's right." Li Ruolin nodded. Chu Li smiled. "There's no need to trouble them. I'll do it myself." As soon as he finished speaking, he pulled out a long sword from his waist and stabbed it into his dantian. He spat out a mouthful of blood. His essence, spirit, and spirit dimmed at a speed visible to the naked eye. The aura around his body quickly weakened and the light in his eyes became weaker. In the blink of an eye, his inner energy disappeared and he returned to being an ordinary person. "You!" Li Ruolin was annoyed. "Nonsense." Chu Li pulled out his sword and blood spurted out. Li Ruolin quickly went forward to seal his acupuncture point to stop the bleeding. Chu Li wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and scoffed. Since it's the saint's order, how can I disobey? Are you satisfied now? You don't have to suffer such serious injuries. Li Ruolin shook her head. What are you trying to show off? Both of you, come and take a look. The skinny Li Chongqing went forward and put his hand on Chu Li's wrist. A cold force quickly circled around his body and finally landed on his dantian before disappearing. He let go of his hand and nodded. His martial arts are indeed crippled and his dantian is damaged. It'll take some time for him to cultivate again. The other middle-aged man, Zhao Yuanhao, said with a gloomy expression, unfortunately, he won't be able to make it to the martial arts competition. He's a cripple. He can only watch others compete, Li Chongqing said. What a pity. Zhao Yuanhao shook his head and looked at Chu Li. If we fought, he wouldn't have suffered such serious injuries. He'll recover in half a month and cultivate again. Chu Li said coldly, Thank you for your kindness. Don't worry, I have a strong recovery ability. It won't take long for me to recover my cultivation. Is that so? That's a good thing. Zhao Yuanhao nodded. Then I wish you success and become an inner mountain disciple. Chu Li scoffed. It's all thanks to you. Li Ruolin stared at the two and said, Senior Brother Li, Senior Brother Zhao, if there's nothing else, please leave. All right, we'll take our leave. Zhao Yuanhao and Li Chongqing fist saluted and left. Li Ruolin frowned as she watched them leave. She was surprised that the two did not fall for her trap and did not play any trick. They were so honest. It seemed that the saint's prestige was getting deeper and deeper. She quickly took out a jade bottle and poured out a snow-white pill. Then, she stuffed it into Chu Li's mouth. Chu Li obediently opened his thick lips and swallowed the pill. Li Ruolin let out a sigh of relief and glared at him. Chu Li chuckled. What's this? Poison. Li Ruolin scoffed. You're too impulsive. Chu Li said, I think they're up to no good. It's better for me to do it myself. You. Li Ruolin shook her head helplessly. Zhao Dai looked silly, but he was very sharp. He sensed the two's evil intentions. This move had cut off the possibility of them playing trick. It was a smart move. Chu Li felt a strong life force quickly encircling his body and rushed into his dantian to speed up the recovery of his dantian. This is the miracle cure pill. It's a gift from the saint. With this pill, your injuries will recover quickly and your skills will recover. Consider it a reward for your selflessness, Li Ruolin said. Chu Li smiled. Thank you, Saint. Chapter 36:52. Chu Li smiled in disdain. Altar leader. Do you think the altar leader can't do anything to you? Li Ruolin was annoyed when she saw his nonchalant look. It's a piece of cake for the altar leader to take care of an outer mountain disciple like you. Chu Li smiled. He can't do it himself, right? Does he need to do it himself? Li Ruolin scoffed. As long as word gets out, there will be plenty of people who will take care of you. They don't have to do it themselves, they can just hire assassins like the Destiny Clan to take care of you. Chu Li frowned. Could it really be the Destiny Clan? The Destiny Clan's hidden weapons were top-notch. He had to be careful. They might be involved. Anyway, you have to be careful. Li Ruolin frowned. Why don't you follow me back to Small Light Peak first? Chu Li replied, There's no need for that. Just show me what you've got. Li Ruolin glared at him. She knew it was useless to say anything else, so she scoffed. You have to recover your martial arts as soon as possible. Come in, I'll protect you. Zhao Dai was at his weakest at this moment, so he was most afraid that someone would take advantage of him. Chu Li nodded and entered the house. He sat on the bed and channeled. Li Ruolin followed him in and sat on the armchair opposite him. Time passed slowly. The moonlight shone like water. It was quiet outside, but the house was warm. In the middle of the night, the moonlight shone brightly on the paper windows, illuminating the house. Chu Li got off the bed and stretched his body. The miracle cure pill was miraculous as it allowed him to recover in half a day. Even the spirit-blessing pill was not as effective as the Holy Church of Light. However, there would not be a lot of such miraculous pills. Li Ruolin opened her eyes and looked at him. Her charming eyes could still be seen in the dark house. Chu Li smiled. "I'm fine now." Li Ruolin sighed in relief. At least there were no twists and turns. She had been worried that someone would play tricks, especially altar leader Mo. If he sent someone to take advantage of the situation, he could just send 2 martial arts masters, one to hold her back and the other to deal with Zhao Dave. Now that Chu Li had recovered his martial arts without any twists and turns, she was finally relieved. Chu Li said, "Miss Ruolin, you should go back as soon as possible. The news of my martial arts being crippled might spread soon. Don't drag you into it." Li Ruolin frowned and asked, "How is that possible?" Chu Li smiled. How could altar leader Mo let go of such an opportunity? What a great opportunity to kill with a borrowed knife. Li Ruolin nodded slowly and said, "This is indeed a good opportunity." Chu Li said, "I'd like to see who will jump out." Li Ruolin asked, "Can you handle it?" "I like this kind of excitement, so I'm here to join in the fun." Chu Li smiled. Li Ruolin replied slowly, "I'll let the saint know." She cupped her fists and left. At dawn, Chu Li arrived at 9-Star Tower. As soon as he stepped onto the 3rd floor, he saw Yang Ying sitting at a table by the window. She ate the dishes on the table quickly and elegantly. Chu Li slowly walked towards her and sat opposite her. He smiled and asked, "Miss Yang hasn't left yet?" When Yang Ying saw him, she said unhappily, "Why are you here again?" Chu Li smiled. "Can't I come to 9-Star Tower? You still dare to go out now?" Yang Ying looked at him from head to toe and shook her head. "Your complexion is indeed terrible, and your martial arts have been crippled." Chu Li asked, "Everyone knows. Everyone in Gale City knows." Yang Ying was dressed in a light green gown and looked fresh and elegant. Everyone is overjoyed. As the #1 master in Gale City, you rose quickly and fell quickly. It's so satisfying. Chu Li nodded. That's true. A person who rose suddenly would be envied, just like how a nouveau riche would be treated coldly. This was human nature. He rose too quickly in Gale City, and was envied by too many people. Chu Li sighed. This is fate. No one knows what's going to happen next. There's nothing we can do about it. I heard that your martial arts were crippled because you broke the rules of the Holy Church of Light. Yes. What rules did I break? Yang Ying looked at him curiously. Chu Li said, "I killed a fellow disciple. Killing each other is a big taboo in any sect." Yang Ying nodded in understanding. "Don't you know that you can't kill your fellow disciples?" "How stupid!" Chu Li scoffed. "She wanted to kill me first. How could I just wait and see?" "That's true. Anyway, you're unlucky." Yang Ying smiled. Thud, thud, thud. Hurried footsteps could be heard as 2 young men strode up to the 3rd floor. They pushed through the crowd and arrived in front of Chu Li. Chu Li looked up at them. "Zhao Dave, we're disciples of the Sublime Righteous Association," one of the young men shouted. "We heard that you're skilled in martial arts. We're here to learn a thing or two from you." Chu Li smiled. "Sublime Righteous Association? I've never heard of it." "Humph, you haven't heard of it before, but you'll remember it in the future." The young man scoffed. "You won't forget it for the rest of your life." Chu Li shook his head. "An association like yours isn't worth mentioning. We'll show you how powerful we are today." The young man sneered. Chu Li said, "You've heard some news, haven't you?" "What news?" The young man scoffed. "Come on, let's have a spar. I'll see how good you are." Chu Li shook his head and laughed. Yang Ying suddenly threw a punch. Bang! The young man was sent flying to the staircase. She followed up with another punch, and another young man flew straight out and landed at the top of the stairs. Yang Ying slowly retracted her small fist and scoffed. "You guys don't have the right to fight him." Chu Li gave a fist salute and smiled. "Miss Yang, thank you." "What are you thanking me for?" Yang Ying scoffed. I can't stand people who kick me when I'm down. Chu Li said, didn't the White Tiger sect want to take this opportunity to kill me and take revenge? You guys aren't that shameless. Yang Ying said. You're already in this state. How can you take revenge? Chu Li smiled. I guess this counts as revenge, right? That's right. Yang Ying said. While they were talking, another group of people ran up to the third floor. They approached Chu Li and challenged him again. Yang Ying threw a punch at them and sent them flying. Chu Li held a glass of wine leisurely. Yang Ying was furious when she saw him like this. Aren't you anxious at all? Your martial arts have been crippled. Why aren't you running away? Where to? Chu Li shook his head. They won't chase after me if I run away? It's better than waiting for death here, Yang Ying said. Chu Li smiled. Thank you for your concern, Miss Yang. I won't die so easily. Humph, stubborn. Yang Ying curled her red lips. While they were talking, Miss Yu Ru walked over. She was dressed in a peach blossom gown and looked light and graceful. When she saw Yang Ying, she curtsied with a smile and sat by the table. Miss Yang, you're here too. Big brother Zhao, I've been looking for you. Chu Li smiled. Why are you looking for me? I'm going back to Phoenix Goddess Brothel, Yu Ru said. Chu Li smiled and shook his head. Phoenix Goddess Brothel will become a target for everyone. There'll be endless trouble. Phoenix Goddess Brothel has never been afraid of trouble, Yu Ru said. Miss Yu Ru's heroic spirit is impressive. Lu Xiaofeng appeared at the staircase. He was dressed in a green tunic and laughed. I'm impressed. Yu Ru frowned. Young Master Lu. Chapter 3653. P.S. 6 updates complete. Chu Li smiled and gave a fist salute. Thank you. The Blazing Sun clan has always been open and aboveboard. We won't do such despicable things. Lu Xiaofeng smiled. Also, we won't allow anyone to harm clan leader Zhao. Chu Li smiled. It's not worth it to do this for a cripple like me. Big brother Zhao, you can cultivate again if you lose your martial arts. You haven't cultivated for long anyway, so it won't take long for you to recover your martial arts, Yu Ru said. Chu Li nodded. Don't worry, I'm not that weak. Bang! A muffled sound was heard as the window suddenly exploded. A gray-robed elder leaped into the building and appeared in front of Chu Li. He reached out to grab Chu Li with his right hand shaped into a claw. His murderous intent shrouded Chu Li. Chu Li seemed to be powerless as he watched the right claw reach him. Bang! Yang Ying's fist hit his shoulder and sent him flying back the way he came. Chu Li smiled. Thank you, Miss Yang. Yang Ying scoffed. What's there to thank? These thieves deserve to die. I'll beat them up whenever I see them. Chu Li said, I'm sure many factions in Gale City will come to join in the fun. The Blazing Sun clan has announced that they'll stand by clan leader Zhao, Lu Xiaofeng said. Yu Ru said, there will always be people who don't know what's good for them. Yang Ying scoffed. We should cripple their martial arts and let them have a taste of what it's like. Chu Li smiled. I'm flattered that everyone is treating me like this. This is the rule of the martial arts world. We're not doing this for you, clan leader Zhao. We're doing this to maintain justice in the martial arts world, Lu Xiaofeng said. I see. Chu Li grinned. Then I don't owe you such a big favor. You don't owe us anything. Yang Ying scoffed. Lu Xiaofeng said, Clan leader Zhao, I'm impressed that you're able to keep a straight face despite being in such a difficult situation. He suddenly realized that his jealousy had disappeared and he began to sympathize with Chu Li. Chu Li said, I can't just frown. It's useless. Moreover, I'm not that pitiful. It's not that difficult to recover my martial art. I can do it with just a thought. Within a thought? Yang Ying asked curiously, what's within a thought? Actually, I recover my martial arts very quickly, Chu Li said. I just want to see who's jumping around. Come out, let's clean up together. Zhao Dave, you didn't spread the news about your martial arts being crippled on your own, did you? Yang Ying suddenly shouted. Chu Li shook his head. Someone is trying to harm me. That's good. Yang Ying heaved a sigh of relief. If it's really your own trick, I won't forgive you. At this moment, a group of people rushed up the stairs in an aggressive manner. They approached Chu Li and glared at him fiercely. Chu Li glanced at them and shook his head. He did not recognize these people. Lu Xiaofeng said in a deep voice, "Masculine Wind Gang, how dare you?" When they saw Lu Xiaofeng, their momentum immediately stagnated. The leading young man quickly said, "Clan leader Lu, we want to settle the score with Zhao Dai." Adding insult to injury, your Xiongfeng gang only has this much potential. Lu Xiaofeng snorted in a deep voice, "Fuck off. As long as my blazing sun hall is here, you can forget about dealing with Hall Master Zhao." Clan leader Lu, why are you helping him? We still have to uphold the principles of the martial arts world. Lu Xiaofeng said in a deep voice. The young man thought about it and nodded helplessly. All right, I'll forgive him today for clan leader Lu's sake. He glared at Chu Li, waved his hand, turned around and walked out. The others followed him and left. Chu Li smiled as he watched them leave. Seeing Chu Li's smile, Ru felt a little sad. Big brother Zhao used to be so mighty, but now, even an unknown small faction could bully him and stand in front of him and yell at him. Before this, these factions did not even dare to approach him. They had to be submissive when they met him and did not dare to speak loudly. They were extremely respectful. In the face of such an embarrassing situation, Big Brother Zhao did not get angry and his smile did not diminish. He was really unfazed by favors and humiliation. His magnanimity was admirable. Chu Li smiled. Now that the four sects have gathered, no one will believe that we're in harmony. The White Tiger sect and the Holy Church of Light will never be in harmony. Yang Ying scoffed. Chu Li said, I owe everyone a favor this time. I'll find a chance to return it. Let's talk about it when you can return it, Yang Ying said. Don't boast. Can you really recover your martial arts? Chu Li smiled and nodded. Big brother Zhao, let's return to the Phoenix Goddess brothel first. You can slowly recover your martial arts, Ru said. All right. Chu Li nodded. Ru smiled. Lu Xiaofeng frowned and his expression darkened. In the end, he did not object. Zhao Dai was the closest to the Tian Luo sect, which was a level lower than him and the White Tiger sect. Bai Feng sat behind a desk and pressed her hands on the strings of her guzheng. Chu Li sat cross-legged on the bed and quietly looked at Bai Feng. Do you want to continue cultivating the musical assassination technique? Yes. You dare to cultivate this way without inner energy. It'll help me recover my cultivation level faster. All right. Bai Feng nodded and did not ask any more questions. She lowered her head and started playing the guzheng. Chu Li's mind wandered as he thought about what happened during the day. He was not surprised that Yang Ying had done that. That was her nature. Ru's actions were nothing out of the ordinary. She already had a good relationship with the Phoenix Goddess brothel. However, Lu Xiaofeng's actions surprised him. He could see through Lu Xiaofeng's thoughts through the omniscient mirror. The Flaming Sun sect valued their reputation, so they treated Chu Li's crippled cultivation as a rare opportunity to show off. Even with this motive, Chu Li still owed them a favor. He had to find a chance to return it in the future. His martial arts had been crippled, but the White Tiger sect and the Flaming Sun sect did not take advantage of his misfortune. Instead, they helped him in his hour of need. He was surprised that the people of Gale City would be surprised as well. In this world, the strong were respected and martial arts were paramount. Since his martial arts had been crippled, he had turned from the #1 master in Gale City into a cripple. They no longer saw him as a threat, so they were friendly. However, he would not be able to deal with the 3 major sects after he recovered his martial art. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Amidst the sound of the guzheng, Mahavairokkana's immobility scripture, the Great Light scripture, and the heavenly demon scripture circulated at high speed. His body kept growing stronger. When the gouging ended, Bai Feng glided away. The house was dark. Chu Li got up and lit a few tallow candles to brighten the house. Then, he took out the single slice of the universe to study. Feng Shui was wreaking havoc over there. If he wanted to protect his reputation, he had to strengthen the 7 forms of Divine Blade. He might not be able to defeat Feng Shui with the 7 forms of Divine Blade alone. If he lost, all his previous efforts would go to waste. Therefore, he could not afford to lose this battle. Otherwise, the martial arts world of the Ji dynasty would be dominated by Feng Shui. He got up and started practicing the single slice of the universe. After practicing the 36 forms, he discovered a secret. As expected of the single slice of the universe, it was unique. Each form of the 36 blade nurturing forms absorbed a strange force from the void. It was not inner energy but a force that he had never seen before. It was probably the blade energy needed for the single slice of the universe. However, it was not easy to practice the 36 blade nurturing forms. Moreover, this force was very weak. He did not know how many times he would have to practice it in order to accumulate it into a blade. Chapter 36:54. However, the single slice of the universe had a drawback. The energy accumulated in the 36 energy-nurturing forms was extremely domineering. When it was accumulated in the Dantian, it would expel the other inner energy, not allowing it to exist. Even if there was only a tiny bit of it, it was not any less domineering. When the energy met the inner energy, it would directly attack, like a lion chasing away a pack of wolves. The inner energy of the divine light technique was also extremely domineering and pure. When it met with the energy, it seemed to have met its natural enemy and could only give way. Seeing how domineering the energy was, Chu Li was very satisfied. No wonder the single slice of the universe was so domineering. In ancient times, if the Dantian was filled with energy like this, it would be invincible. He painstakingly understood the 36 forms, wanting to understand its mystery. If he could cultivate this energy without going through so much trouble, he would be even more powerful. The 36 forms were similar to formations. It seemed to use the human body as a formation and special movements as a guide to attract this strange energy from the void. Then, the single slice of the universe was used to control this energy. Chu Li was amazed. The mysteries of the human body were really unpredictable. Even with the omniscient mirror that could see every inch of the human body, he could not see all the mysteries, just like the 36 energy-nurturing forms. He suddenly disappeared and appeared at the spirit crane's peak. In a clear sound, 2 white shadows flashed by. The spirit cranes had already rushed into his arms and knocked him down. They used their long beaks to kiss him excitedly. Chu Li had already returned to his original appearance. He played with the 2 cranes for a while and fought for a while. He had been cultivating the heavenly demonic scripture, and his heavenly demonic power had improved tremendously. His body had unknowingly become stronger. Although his cultivation level did not increase by much, his strength had skyrocketed. However, when he fought with the 2 cranes, he was still at a disadvantage. While he was getting stronger, so were they, and they were getting stronger at an even faster speed. After playing around, Chu Li ate a few fruits and began to cultivate the 36 energy-nurturing forms. As soon as he started, he felt that it was different. The energy flowed into his Dantian. After cultivating the 36 forms, the energy in his Dantian was already full. Elsewhere, cultivating the 36 qi nourishing forms was like a drizzle. The saber qi entered the Dantian strand by strand. However, cultivating the 36 qi nourishing forms on Spirit Crane's peak was like a downpour. The saber qi surged into the Dantian. He tried to use the first form of the universe. Suddenly, the blade flashed, and the blade seemed to have lost its weight. It suddenly accelerated at an incredible speed. Then, the blade chi shot out, and a 1-meter square stone on the opposite side was silently split into two. Chu was surprised and went to the side of the rock to take a look. The cutting surface was as smooth as a mirror, and the saber chi was like a treasured saber that could cut through iron like mud. Chu was secretly impressed. Such power was indeed shocking. There was still half of the saber chi left in his dantian. He executed it again, and another 2-meter square stone was silently sliced open. The most amazing thing was that when the saber chi entered the blade, the speed of the blade suddenly increased. He injected the remaining saber chi into the blade and waved the long blade. Instantly, the sky was filled with light, and the speed was unbelievably fast. Chu was surprised. He suddenly realized that he did not actually need to activate the saber chi. He only needed to store it in the blade, and the speed of the blade would become extremely fast. Coupled with a treasured saber, it would be powerful enough. He immediately returned to Tianshu courtyard and brought a dozen fruits for Shao Qi and Shao Shi. By the time he returned to Phoenix Goddess Brothel, it was already early in the morning. He sat cross-legged on the bed and was about to cultivate when Yu-Ru knocked on the door and entered. Chu looked at her. Yu-Ru whispered, "Big Brother Zhao, bad news. The Radiance clan has been demolished again." Chu was stunned, and then he shook his head. Yu-Ru said, "These people are despicable. They can't find you, and they don't dare to come to Phoenix Goddess Brothel. So, they demolished the Radiance clan to lure you out." Chu nodded. Yu-Ru said, "Big Brother Zhao, don't be fooled." Chu smiled. "My martial arts have been restored." Yu-Ru's eyes widened in disbelief. The Holy Church of Light would not be lenient when it came to crippling one's martial arts. Yu-Ru guessed that it would take at least half a year or even longer to regain one's lost martial arts. After all, his cultivation level was profound. Even though he had only cultivated for a few months, he would need to recuperate before he could start cultivating again. In just one night, his martial arts had been restored? Chu said, "The musical assassination technique is very beneficial to my cultivation. I have to thank all of you for activating the medicinal effects of the spirit pills and recovering my martial arts so quickly." "Have you really recovered?" Yu-Ru asked. Chu nodded. "Most likely. Don't worry." Yu-Ru let out a long sigh of relief. "Thank God." Chu smiled. "That's why I want to go out and have a look. I'll use them to establish my authority." "That's right. Otherwise there will be endless trouble." Yu-Ru nodded. Since he was staying in Phoenix Goddess Brothel, no one dared to cause trouble. However, he still had the Radiance clan, so everyone vented their anger on the Radiance clan. Chu shook his head. Now that the Radiance clan had been demolished, all his previous efforts were in vain. It was not easy to build it up, but it was quick and easy to demolish it. It would not be easy for him to leave Gale City. Chu got off the bed and flew out of Phoenix Goddess Brothel to the Radiance clan. The Radiance clan had been reduced to ruins again. Which immoral person is causing trouble? Come out if you have the gut. I'll change my surname to yours if I don't beat the sh*t out of you. Ko Cheong stood in front of the ruins and cursed. His face was flushed with anger. Lu Shu and Feng Wuji stared at the ruins with gloomy expressions. They had personally hired someone to supervise the construction of the Radiance clan. They had watched every brick and stone being built slowly, but now it had been reduced to rubble. This made them so angry that they were about to burst into flames. "Ha ha!" Loud laughter rang out as 3 elders appeared. They laughed and pointed at the ruins proudly. Ko Cheong stopped cursing and turned to look at the 3. "Did you do this?" The 3 elders in brown nodded with smiles on their faces. The round-faced elder grinned. "We demolished it. Well done. That's how it should be." Another fat elder nodded. "It's much more pleasing to the eye. What the f*ck is the Radiance clan?" Another square-faced elder remained silent and only nodded. You 3 old dogs deserve to die. Ko Cheong pointed at them and yelled. Die. Ko, you're just a dog with the surname Zhao. How dare you call us dogs? You're really shameless. You 3 old dogs, our clan leader's toes are stronger than you. Ko Cheong yelled. How dare you demolish the Radiance clan? You're courting death. Our clan leader doesn't have to do anything today. We'll send you to hell. He waved his hand. Elder Lu, Elder Ji, don't talk nonsense with them. Kill them first. Kill them. Lu Shu and Feng Wuji charged at the 3 elders. The 6 of them immediately fought. Chu Li frowned as he watched from afar. The 3 elders in brown had a profound cultivation level that was not inferior to Ko Cheong. It was no wonder that they appeared without fear. Ko Cheong was so angry that he screamed. He hated that his cultivation level was not profound enough. Chu Li scoffed and waved his hand. The 3 elders immediately flew out. Clan leader. Ko Cheong and the others were overjoyed and quickly greeted him. Chu Li glanced at them snappily. Useless. The 3 of them sighed helplessly. Kill them and cut off their heads, Chu Li said. Chapter 36:55. Chu Li snorted. Keep building. Yes. The 3 of them answered. Chu Li left the Radiance clan and went to 9-Star Tower. It was still early, so there were not many people in 9-Star Tower. When Chu Li arrived at the 3rd floor, he did not see Yang Ying. He sat down at a table by the window and ordered a few dishes before eating slowly. Zhao Dai! Someone suddenly shouted. Chu Li looked up and smiled at the young man who had just come up. The young man's expression stiffened and he ran out immediately. Chu Li shook his head. Trouble had come again. He could tell that the person was from the Sublime Righteous Association. A moment later, more than 10 young men rushed up and glared at Chu Li. The leading young man sneered. Zhao Dai, you have no one to back you up and no woman to help you. Chu Li picked up an exquisite pastry and put it in his mouth before chewing it slowly. What do you want? I'm going to teach you a lesson. The leading young man had an ordinary appearance with many pimples on his face. His eyes were bright and he looked quite brave. Chu Li sighed. Why don't you grow some brains and think about why I dare to come here alone? You're used to being unscrupulous. Even if your martial arts are crippled, you still can't put down your pride. The young man sneered. Unfortunately, things are different now. You're no longer the #1 master in Gale City. Chu Li said, I'm no longer the #1 master in Gale City. What's the point of defeating me? Everyone knows that my martial arts are crippled. If you defeat a cripple, you'll only be mocked and cursed. Why are you looking for me? I'm not looking for you for fame. The young man sneered. I'm looking for revenge. One of my brothers was a disciple of the Roaring Tiger clan, but you crippled him. Chu Li raised his eyebrows and smiled. Didn't I spare his life? I'm now a cripple like your brother. Are you still going to be so relentless? That's right. The young man sneered. Even if your martial arts are crippled, don't think about living a good life. You have many enemies like me. They'll come looking for you one by one to settle the score. Chu Li sighed. Once one's martial arts is crippled, they'll leave the martial arts world. Don't you know this rule? That's for others but not you. The young man shouted. Don't even think about it. Clan leader Lu isn't in Gale City today. Chu Li shook his head. Take this. The young man stepped forward and swung his blade at Chu Li. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. He wanted to take Chu Li's life. Chu Li gently raised his hand. The young man immediately flew into the air, clutching his throat as his eyes widened in disbelief. Bam! He landed heavily on the ground, then struggled and twisted. After a while, he stopped moving. Everyone was stunned. This included Yang Ying, who had just entered. Yang Ying, who was dressed in a light green gown, looked fresh and pleasant. She widened her eyes and sat in front of him, sizing him up. Chu Li grinned. Miss Yang, you haven't left Gale City yet? You're such a busybody. What's wrong with me not leaving Gale City? Yang Ying said snappily. Have you recovered your martial arts? Chu Li smiled. Yes, I've recovered. How is that possible? Yang Ying's eyes widened. Chu Li replied, You're a disciple of the White Tiger sect. You should know about spirit pills that can help you recover your martial arts. I almost forgot that you're a disciple of the Holy Church of Light. You're so rich. Yang Ying curled her lips and scoffed. You pretended to be so pitiful and unlucky yesterday. Chu Li smiled. Didn't I say that recovering my martial arts is only a matter of thought? I was planning to wait and see who would show up, but it seems like I'll just be making things difficult for myself. You're so evil. Yang Ying scoffed. Chu Li laughed proudly and glanced at the people of the Sublime Righteous Association. They lost their courage and hurriedly carried the dead young man before disappearing from the third floor. Yang Ying said, You dare to show up all kinds of people. Don't you think about your identity? You're from the Holy Church of Light. I've been blinded by greed, Chu Li replied. He suddenly turned around to face the window and let out a long howl. Then, he shouted, Zhao Dai of the Holy Church of Light, Radiance Clan, I'm here. If you have the guts, come and fight me. His howl lasted for a long time like a huge wave that rumbled endlessly. Thanks to the towering 9-star tower and his profound inner energy, his howl echoed throughout the entire Gale City. Almost everyone could hear it. When the people with ulterior motives heard this, they sighed inwardly and extinguished their restless thoughts. Zhao Dai had already recovered his cultivation level. Yang Ying pursed her lips and smiled. That's a good move. Chu Li said, Miss Yang, I owe you a favor. Sure, Yang Ying said, White Tiger armor. Chu Li smiled and shook his head. I've already given away the White Tiger armor. I can't take it back. Yang Ying scoffed. You're so generous to give away the White Tiger armor. When you're in danger in the future, I'll help you and return the favor, Chu Li said. Yang Ying curled her lips and scoffed. You're not sincere at all. How can I be in danger? My martial arts is so powerful. Chu Li smiled. What if you encounter someone like me or the saint? That's true. All right, I'll return the favor, Yang Ying said. But I have to leave. Chu Li was surprised. Yang Ying said, I'm leaving for real this time. I'll leave today. Chu Li fell silent. Yang Ying rested her chin on her hand and sighed. I'll have to go into isolated cultivation after I return. Are you really going to be punished? Yes, 2 years of isolated cultivation. Chu Li smiled bitterly. 2 years. Your master is so cruel. Yang Ying gave him a sidelong glance and scoffed. It's all your fault. Then you can run away again, Chu Li said. I have a place to hide. I won't dare to run away again. Yang Ying shook her head. Master will be angry if I run away again. All right then. Chu Li took out a palm-sized jade pendant and handed it to her. Yang Ying quickly waved her hand and refused to take it. Chu Li said, This is a treasure. It's fine if you don't want it. What treasure? Yang Ying retracted her hand and looked at the sparkling jade pendant. Chu Li scoffed. If you're in danger, I'll know when you break this and I'll rush over as soon as possible. By the time you get here, I'll be dead. Yang Ying scoffed. Chu Li said, What if you're close? Yang Ying thought about it and took it. All right. What a good show of affection. A burst of laughter was heard as a handsome middle-aged man slowly walked up the stairs. He clapped his hands and laughed. Looks like the White Tiger sect's honey trap worked. He was dressed in a white robe and walked elegantly like a jade tree standing in the wind. Yang Ying glared at him angrily. Chu Li frowned as he looked at the handsome middle-aged man. His expression gradually turned serious. He could feel that the middle-aged man's aura was like a flame. His vital essence was boiling and formed a magma-like aura. The Church of the Bloody Garment. The cultivation level of this middle-aged man was like heaven and earth compared to the people from the Church of the Bloody Garment. Chu Li felt like he was facing a pool of magma when he faced this middle-aged man. "Who are you?" Yang Ying shouted. The middle-aged man smiled. "The Church of the Bloody Garment, Su Jingzong." Chu Li looked around with the omniscient mirror and frowned. "You're alone?" "I'm enough." Su Jingzong smiled. "Moreover, I'm the only one left from the Church of the Bloody Garment." "Humph, the remnants of the Church of the Bloody Garment. Instead of finding a place to hide, you came here to die," Yang Ying said impatiently. Chapter 3656. Why should I leave? Yang Ying scoffed. "No matter how powerful he is, we can defeat him together." Chu Li shook his head. "You leave first. Is he really that powerful? The Bloody Garment divine power is evil." "It's evil." Yang Ying shuddered. She shuddered at the thought that she would turn into a dried corpse under the Bloody Garment divine power and had goosebumps all over her body. She leaped out of the window to look for her master for help. Chu Li looked at Su Jingzong. "Senior Su, are you the bishop of the Church of the Bloody Garment? You do have some skills." Su Jingzong smiled. "I'm indeed the bishop of the Church of the Bloody Garment. I heard that the Church of the Bloody Garment is a branch of the Church of the Divine Blood. Is Senior Su a disciple of the Church of the Divine Blood?" "You know quite a lot." Su Jingzong nodded. "I was born in the Church of the Divine Blood, but I'm just an insignificant member. The Church of the Bloody Garment I founded is a joke." As he spoke, his blood boiled. As soon as he finished speaking, he flashed in front of Chu Li and slammed his palm down. His movement was as fast as lightning. Chu Li leaped out of the window and swung his arm in the air. Bang! Su Jingzong's body shuddered and he took 2 steps back. The wound on his throat squirmed and quickly closed, leaving only a red line. Chu Li swung his arm again. Bang! Su Jingzong shuddered again and took 2 steps back. The wound on his throat split open and quickly closed again. Bang! Su Jingzong shuddered again. The wound opened and closed again. Chu Li swung his blade 3 times and appeared on the roof of another house, far below the 9-star tower. Su Jingzong stood at the window and shouted, "Zhao Dave, how long can you run? How many blades can you use?" Chu Li stood on the roof. "Bishop Su, can you dodge my blade?" "I can't, but your blade is no threat to me. I can catch up to you," Su Jingzong said. "Moreover, you have 3 subordinates. If you can't kill me today, they will die tomorrow." Chu Li scoffed. "That depends on your ability, Bishop Su. You will have a taste of my abilities. Your essence blood is truly pure and rare. I really like it, ha ha." Su Jingzong looked excited and his eyes sparkled. He looked at Chu Li as if he was looking at a delicacy, which made Chu Li's heart turn cold. Chu Li scoffed. "Come at me if you can." He turned around and left. Su Jingzong shot toward Chu Li like an arrow released from a bow. His speed was slightly faster than Chu Li's as he slowly closed in on him. In terms of the depth of his cultivation level, he was a notch higher than Chu Li. Moreover, his light body technique was top-notch and was not inferior to the time step. Chu Li headed out of the city. Using the time steps, he quickly exited the city and arrived at a dense forest. Su Jingzong chased after him without hesitation. TSS. With a soft whistle, he quickly dodged, but it was too late. The light blade was too fast. Bam! His figure stiffened and stopped under a giant tree. Chi 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 chi. The light blades shot at him one after another. He could not avoid them at all, but he closed his eyes and put his hands together in front of his chest to protect his blood core. Chu Li's flying blades hit his body, but they were all blocked by the invisible force on his body. The blades could have pierced through his body, but they only broke his skin and could not hurt his organs. His bloody garment divine power was at a high level, so it was as if he was wearing a layer of treasured armor. Chu Li shook his head and sighed. His cultivation level was not high enough. Even if he had cultivated the light blade to the 9th level, which was extremely fast and powerful, the power of the light blade would be weakened when facing someone who had a higher cultivation level than him and was skilled in martial arts. If his cultivation level was high enough, even if the bloody garment divine power was profound, the light blade would be able to restrain him and shoot him to death. He would not be able to withstand so many blades. Ha ha! Su Jingzong laughed. This is your flying blade. It's no different from scratching an itch. Let's see how many blades you can throw. Let's see how many blades you can take, Chu Li said coldly. He retreated as he fought and then ran away. Su Jingzong quickly chased after him. Just as he was about 100 meters away, there was a whistling sound. 2 blade energies were shot at him at the same time and hit his legs. His movement suddenly became sluggish. Chu Li disappeared again. Su Jingzong scoffed and chased after him again. This time, he did not dare to be so reckless. Although the 2 blades that hit his legs healed immediately, it still affected him a little and he was slightly slower. Tsk. 2 beams of saber chi shot out again, coming at him from unexpected angles. His legs were struck by the saber once more, and he was unable to dodge them. Su Jingzong shouted angrily, Zhao Dai, if you don't come back, I'll look for your 3 subordinates. Chu Li raised his voice and laughed. Alright, go ahead. It seems like you don't care about their lives. Whether they live or die is up to them. It's not a big deal if they die, I'll just avenge them. Alright, let's see if you really don't care. Su Jingzong turned and left. Chu Li laughed out loud, turned around, and glided away. When Su Jingzong saw him, he quickly turned and chased after him. He was cold by nature and felt that Zhao Dai was the same kind of person. If his subordinates died, then so be it. The key was his own life. If he killed his 3 subordinates, he would be asking for trouble and it would not affect Zhao Dai at all. Chu Li suddenly stopped and dispersed his inner energy. He glided down from the giant tree and began to perform the 36 energy-nurturing forms. Unfortunately, this was not the spirit crane's peak. The strange blade energy of the first form of the universe was thin and the blade energy obtained from the first form was almost negligible. After the first form was performed, Su Jingzong had already caught up. He stopped not far away and looked at Chu Li in confusion. Chu Li performed the 36 forms and said lazily, I'm performing a powerful martial art. If you wait, you'll be able to experience it. You're just playing tricks. Su Jingzong sneered. He pounced on Chu Li without hesitation and did not give him a chance to perform the technique. He was still afraid. Chu Li was helpless. There was only a trace of blade energy from the first form of the universe in his dantian. Hence, he used the heart technique of the 3rd level of the light blade to activate the blade energy of the first form of the universe into a flying blade. The higher the level of the light blade, the more powerful it would be. However, his body only had one type of power, which was blade energy. He could not use the other powers. Swoosh! The flying blade flashed. Su Jingzong looked down in disbelief. The flying blade had pierced through the top of his dantian. A hole could be seen clearly. The blade energy in Chu Li's dantian was depleted. He could only use this one move. Hence, he quickly used the divine light technique to activate the 9th level of the light blade and threw it. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. The blade energy shot through Su Jingzong's throat, eyes, heart, and dantian. Su Jingzong did not resist at all. The bloody garment divine power seemed to have lost its effect as the blade energy pierced through him. His organs were injured and he slowly fell to the ground. In the blink of an eye, he turned into a dried corpse. Chu Li's blade had hit his blood core. No matter how profound his bloody garment divine power was, the blood core was still a vital point. Once it was hit, his martial art would be crippled. Chu Li let out a long sigh of relief. The first form of the universe was indeed exquisite. In fact, Tian Luo sect probably did not realize the mystery of this blade technique. They did not even think that they could master it. The sound of fluttering clothes was heard. Bai Feng, who was dressed in white and had a white veil over her face, fluttered over. She saw the dried corpse on the ground and said, "Could it be Su Jingzong?" Chapter 36:57. With a wave of his hand, a flying knife flew into his hand from the ground. Bai Feng was surprised. "Can you really kill Su Jingzong?" Chu Li raised his head and said, "The single slice of the universe is indeed mysterious. I used it to kill Su Jingzong." Bai Feng's eyes flickered. "You've mastered the single slice of the universe?" Chu Li nodded. "I was lucky." As expected of a genius, Bai Feng's watery eyes scanned his body a few times. The single slice of the universe was placed in the Sutra Library of Tian Luo sect. Until now, no one had managed to cultivate it. This was also the reason why it was given to Chu Li. No matter how powerful a martial art was, it was useless if it could not be cultivated. She did not expect Chu Li to be able to master it. Sigh. Chu Li's face was full of regret. "It's a pity that I can only use it once. Otherwise, I wouldn't be afraid of anyone." A hint of a smile flashed across Bai Feng's bright eyes. "Invincible? There is no such thing as an invincible martial art in this world. Besides, no matter how powerful you are, you can't be stronger than an enlightened master." Chu Li asked, "Senior, why are you here?" Bai Feng scoffed and said, "That little Yang Ying came looking for me." Chu Li smiled. "Looks like that little girl is very concerned about you." Bai Feng glanced at the dried corpse on the ground and felt relieved. "Then," she joked, "looks like the white tiger sect's honey trap didn't backfire." Chu Li smiled. "Senior, what are you thinking? We're friends." I can tell from her anxious look that she's no ordinary friend. Bai Feng smiled. Her master isn't in Gale City, so she had no choice but to look for me. I was shocked too. Su Jingzong is a powerful person, even I can't deal with him. Chu Li nodded. Su Jingzong's bloody garment divine technique was at an extremely high level and was extremely powerful. It was as if he was wearing a precious armor. If it wasn't for the single slice of the universe's strange knife chi, there was really no way to kill him. Bai Feng said, "He was able to escape from the siege of the Church of the Bloody Garment last time. I didn't expect him to be defeated by you this time. He's really unlucky." "He was defeated by the martial arts of the Tian Luo sect. It's karma." Chu Li smiled. Bai Feng pursed her lips and smiled. "That's true. If he had not given Chu Li the single slice of the universe, Chu Li would not have been able to kill Su Jingzong and get rid of the Tian Luo sect's biggest threat. He had indeed reaped what he sowed, and he still had a share of the credit." She broke off a branch and moved it on the dried corpse. She plucked a ring off Su Jingzong's left thumb, wrapped it in a silk handkerchief and carefully put it into her bosom. "This is Su Jingzong's cult leader ring. It can prove his identity." Chu Li waved his long sword and dug a big hole. Then, he tossed Su Jingzong's corpse into the hole so that he could rest in peace. When the two of them returned to the Phoenix Goddess brothel, Yang Ying was in one of the rooms on the second floor. She was holding onto the window and looking down. When she saw Chu Li, she quickly waved at him. Chu Li nodded and bid farewell to Bai Feng. He glided through the window and landed inside the house. Stepping on the thick and soft carpet, Chu Li smiled. "Thank you, Miss Yang." "Is that guy dead?" Yang Ying asked. Chu Li nodded. "He couldn't be more dead." Yang Ying let out a long sigh of relief. "It's good that he's dead. Zhao Dave, you're indeed a troublesome person. Nothing good will come out of meeting you. I'll be leaving now." Chu Li asked, "Where are you cultivating in seclusion? Do you want me to visit you later?" He was reluctant to part with such a friend. He did not have to put in much effort to talk to her. He could say whatever he wanted and did not have to worry about being plotted against. Yang Ying shook her head. I can't do that. I'm going to cultivate in seclusion. At White Tiger Peak. No, I can't tell you. Only Master and I know where it is. Chu Li had already seen where she was cultivating in seclusion. He smiled. All right, I won't go there. You can look for me at Small Light Peak. No problem, Yang Ying said. If that doesn't work, I'll look for you at Radiance Clan. Yes. Chu Li nodded. Yang Ying waved her hand and flew out of the window to the first floor like a swallow. Then, she left the Phoenix Goddess brothel. Chu Li let out a long sigh. He held onto the window, and did not move for a long time. Yu walked in gracefully. Big Brother Zhao. Chu Li did not turn around. I'll be away with Master for a few days, Yu said softly. Chu Li turned to look at her. Yu said softly, Master said that Su Jingzong's death is a serious matter. She'll be returning to the mountain to report it personally. I'll be going back with her. Chu Li nodded. All right. I've already told them to help you cultivate, Big Brother Zhao. There's no need for that. I'll cultivate on my own. Big Brother Zhao, Chu Li smiled. I'll be cultivating the single slice of the universe soon. All right. Yu nodded. Chu Li said, I'm fine. What about you? Why are you going back? Yu sighed. Master said that I'll be cultivating in seclusion. This is a serious matter, Chu Li said. Yu looked at him. I wonder what will happen when you come out of seclusion. Chu Li smiled. You might not be able to see me when you come out of seclusion. Yu nodded and looked disappointed. Chu Li said, but Radiance Clan is here. I'll be back often. Yu smiled. Chu Li took out a jade pendant and handed it to her. Take this. If you encounter any danger, crush it and I'll know. I'll rush over. Yu's smile widened. Is this your personal item, Big Brother Zhao? You can say that. Chu Li nodded. He had been keeping these jade pendants close to his body. Once they were contaminated with his aura, he would be able to sense them through the all-seeing divine power and use God's limbs to rush over. This was the inspiration he got from the Sarira prayer beads from the Titanium Temple. In the future, Seo Shur would have jade pendants in addition to the Sarira beads. Due to the hardness of the Sarira beads, he might not be able to crush the jade pendants easily. Yu carefully took it and smiled sweetly. Thank you, Big Brother Zhao. Chu Li shook his head and smiled. Don't mention it. Big Brother Zhao, you must come back often, Yu said. Chu Li nodded. Yu tactfully took her leave. Her footsteps were light and she was in a good mood. Chu Li smiled. He took 2 cups and a pot of wine and left the Phoenix Goddess brothel. Then, he went to a gazebo near the east gate of Gale City. Not long after he arrived, 2 horses came out of the east gate. One was dressed in an emerald green gown while the other was dressed in a lake green gown. Both of them had white veils covering their faces. They were graceful as they rode on their horses. They slowly exited the city gate and urged their horses to speed up. Miss Yang, Chu Li called out. The 2 horses arrived at the gazebo. Chu Li gave a fist salute to Yang Ying's master, Wang Hua. Greetings, senior. Wang Hua smiled and nodded. Yang Ying, who was dressed in an emerald green gown, leaped from her horse to the gazebo and stood in front of him. Why are you here? I'm here to send you off. Chu Li poured a cup of wine and handed it to her. Drink this. Yang Ying took off her veil and revealed her delicate and lively face. She took the silver cup and drank it in one gulp. Chu Li poured a cup for himself and drank it in one gulp. Yang Ying reached out her fair hand and patted his shoulder. The next time I come out of isolated cultivation, I'll come and play with you. All right, I'll be waiting for you. Chu Li smiled. Chapter 36-58. Chu Li felt a little lost as he watched the 2 of them walk away. It was true that Yang Ying did not have any romantic feelings for him. She was just a good friend who shared the same sentiments and did not discriminate between a man and a woman. This made him feel very comfortable, and it was very relaxing for him to get along with her. However, he did not expect her to leave so soon. He returned to his courtyard and went straight to Spirit Crane's peak. 2 spirit cranes rushed over and played with him for a while. Then, he began to cultivate the 36 energy-nurturing forms at Spirit Crane's peak. After performing the 36 energy-nurturing forms once, he used the blade energy to perform the light body technique. His speed was extremely fast, much faster than usual. However, the blade energy had a major drawback. It was like a wild and untamed lion. Its power was strong, but it was not easy to control. Its inner force was like a fine horse. Although it was not as fast and fierce, it could be controlled like an arm and a finger. It could display all kinds of exquisite martial arts, but it could not do the same with knife energy. Therefore, his plan failed. He could not use the blade energy to completely replace his inner energy, as both had their advantages and disadvantages. The biggest drawback was that it could not coexist with his inner energy. Moreover, he could only use the 36 energy-nurturing forms to accumulate energy. It was extremely slow outside Spirit Crane's peak, so he could not rely on it during critical moments. The last time he killed Su Jingzong was a fluke. If Su Jingzong's reaction was faster, the one who would have died would have been him. At that time, he had withdrawn his internal strength and the saber energy was extremely weak. It was his weakest moment. After accumulating energy, he could only perform the single slice of the universe twice. It would be useless if he could not finish off his opponent with 2 slashes. The so-called single slice of the universe meant that if one slash failed, the universe would turn upside down and life would turn into death. This slash was powerful, but one had to be careful when using it. The setting sun shone gently and beautifully on Feng Huang Mountain. The entire mountain seemed to be shrouded in a dreamy atmosphere, as if it was a fairyland. 2 disciples of Feng Huang Mountain stood under the archway at the foot of Feng Huang Mountain. They were both innate masters and were full of energy. Their eyes were shining and their temples were bulging. They wore green robes and stood straight under the archway. Their eyes were slightly narrowed as they stared at a young man in a white robe who was walking over slowly. The young man in white robe was handsome. He had a long blade at his waist, and his white robe fluttered in the wind. Every step he took was as steady as a mountain. The 2 young men took a deep breath. They felt that this person was not ordinary. Ever since Feng Shui appeared in Feng Huang Mountain, Feng Huang Mountain had regained its former glory. There was an endless stream of martial arts masters who came to visit Feng Huang Mountain. Their confidence grew, and their momentum grew. No matter how powerful the martial arts masters they faced were, they could face them calmly without being servile or overbearing. However, when faced with this white-robed young man who was walking slowly towards them, they could not help but feel inferior. They could not help but fall into a disadvantageous position, and their hearts were filled with anxiety. The white-robed young man approached the 2 and cupped his fists. He said in a gentle voice, "I am Du Feng. I have taken the liberty to pay a visit and wish to have a battle with Miss Feng Shui." Du Feng? The 2 of them were stunned, and their expressions changed. White-robed Shindao Du Feng. Chu Li smiled and nodded. "That's me." The 2 of them were completely shocked. One of the young men reacted and quickly said, "Hero Du, please wait for a moment. I'll inform him immediately." White-robed Shindao Du Feng abhorred evil and killed people like scything flax. He had killed more than 1,000 evildoers. He had a great reputation in the martial arts world. He was highly respected by the righteous young men who practiced martial arts to fight against the strong and help the weak. They all felt that a martial artist should be like Du Feng. Chu Li smiled and nodded. "Thank you." One of the young men quickly leaped onto the treetops and flew along the treetop. In a short while, he had climbed halfway up the mountain. The other young man said, Hero Du, I am Zhao Shi. I've heard of your name for a long time. It's my honor to meet you today. Chu Li shook his head and smiled. Don't call me Hero Du, you can just call me Brother Du. Brother Zhao, you're a disciple of a famous sect. Your future is limitless. Zhao Shi did not expect Du Feng to be so amiable. He does not have any slang, right? Have some tea to moisten your mouth. Thank you. Chu Li nodded. The two of them went to the gazebo. Zhao Shi brewed a cup of tea for him and presented it with both hands. He sighed. Although Brother Du did not accept the challenge this time, everyone will laugh at you for not losing to Senior Sister Feng. Chu Li said, Is Miss Feng's martial arts really that powerful? Senior Sister Feng's Ninth Heaven Phoenix flight technique is the best in the world. It's so fast that people can't see it clearly. Moreover, her inner energy is strange and cannot be blocked by ordinary inner energy. Brother Du, your knife technique is peerless, but no matter how fast your knife is, it can't be faster than Senior Sister Feng's light body technique, Zhao Shi said. Chu Li sighed. Unfortunately, this battle was inevitable. I didn't do it for fame. I did it for Snow Lunar Pavilion. Senior Sister Feng did go a little overboard. Zhao Shi looked up and lowered his voice. But if you want to be the strongest, this is the only way. There's no other way. Chu Li said, Aren't you worried that Feng Huang Mountain will become a target for everyone? Zhao Shi shook his head. If Senior Sister Feng can become the world's #1, Feng Huang Mountain will become the top faction. We can even become a super-ranked faction and be on par with the 4 major factions. Chu Li nodded slowly and did not say anything. A clear whistling sound soared into the sky and resounded through the sky. Chu Li's spirit was lifted. He knew that the famous Feng Shui, who was in the limelight for a while, was about to appear. Zhao Shi quickly said, Senior Sister Feng is here. Brother Du, you're really influential. Senior Sister Feng has never cared about others. Many masters have come to challenge Senior Sister Feng, but Senior Sister Feng has ignored them all. Chu Li could not help but laugh. Then I'll have to thank Miss Feng for thinking highly of me. Zhao Shi chuckled and secretly sighed at his own nonsense. No matter how arrogant Senior Sister Feng was, she would not look down on him. As the whistle ended, a white figure appeared in front of Chu Li in a flash. A faint fragrance wafted over. A snow-white robe covered her graceful figure. A white veil covered her face, revealing only a pair of phoenix eyes. They were as clear as a cold spring under the sun. Her elegance was breathtaking. Chu Li Fist saluted and smiled. I'm Du Feng. Greetings, Miss Feng. Feng Shui. Du Feng, you're finally here. The woman in white said lightly. Chapter 36:59. Senior Feng. Zhao Shi was surprised. Feng Shui waved her hand and he stopped abruptly, not saying a word. Feng Shui stared at Chu Li and said slowly, Do it. Chu Li slowly walked out of the gazebo, his heart heavy. The Ninth Heaven Phoenix was also a unique study, similar to the Empyrean fairy power. He could not see into her heart, there was an invisible force that prevented him from prying. This way, he would have one less trump card and his advantage would be reduced. He slowly walked to the empty space in front of the memorial arch and placed his hand on the hilt of his blade. Miss Feng, I always use one blade. Since your martial arts are outstanding, I will make an exception today and use 2 blades. 2 blades. Feng Shui scoffed. Chu Li smiled. If 2 blades fail, it will be my loss. All right. Feng Shui said, Make your move. Chu Li said, Miss Feng better make your move first, in case I have an unfair advantage. If I make my move first, I'm afraid you won't have the chance to make your move. How arrogant! Feng Shui said, I'll let you make your move first. Chu Li nodded. If that's the case, I'll have to offend you. As soon as he finished speaking, he moved his shoulder and in a flash, the long blade had already appeared in front of Feng Shui's forehead. With a clear sound, Feng Shui turned into a blurry shadow, and the blade seemed to have landed on her shadow. Chu Li put his blade away and closed fist saluted. Feng Shui held her shoulder with her right hand and stood 2 feet away, her eyes flashing. Zhao Shi stared at the two with his eyes wide open, his gaze falling on Feng Shui's shoulder. Her white gown was dyed bright red, it was blood. Senior Feng was injured. Feng Shui looked down at the wound on her left shoulder, it was like a baby's lips, almost revealing her white bones. Fortunately, she had precise control over her body, the blood only flowed out a little before it stopped. She looked up at Chu Li, her bright eyes shining. Very good, Du Feng, you're the only one who injured me. Chu Li smiled. That's my honor. You live up to your reputation. Feng Shui said, Du Feng is indeed Du Feng, you live up to your name as the White Shroud Xindao. Chu Li said, Miss Feng, do you want to go again? Of course. Feng Shui said lightly, I haven't lost yet. Chu Li nodded. Alright, there's one more blade. If I can't succeed with the next blade, it'll be Lady Feng's victory. Then receive a palm strike from me. Feng Shui said indifferently. Her body swayed and turned into a shadow. In an instant she appeared behind Chu Li. Her palm was exquisite, as if it was carved out of white jade. It was flowing with a bright red brilliance, as if a layer of rouge had been applied on the white jade. Chu Li took a step to the side and barely dodged the attack. Her palm changed again, and Chu Li took another step to dodge it. It was as if every step he took was very relaxed, neither fast nor slow, but it was just enough to avoid Feng Shui's jade-like palm. His nature restoration manifestation became more and more profound. Zhao Shi widened his eyes and stared without blinking. Soon, he felt dizzy. Feng Shui's body movement technique was so fast that it was beyond his ability to capture it with his naked eyes. After watching for a while, he could no longer stand it, so he could only ignore Feng Shui's body movement technique and stare at Chu Li. He saw Chu Li casually taking small steps, but he was always able to avoid Feng Shui's extremely fast palms. Miss Feng, be careful. I'm about to attack, Chu Li said slowly. With a clear sound, Feng Shui's body suddenly sped up. Chu Li was surrounded by a circle of white figures. Feng Shui's figure could not be seen clearly. She was everywhere. Chu Li moved his hand and the blade flashed. Without a sound, Feng Shui appeared 2 feet away. Her right hand hung down and a cut appeared on her right shoulder. Blood quickly soaked her snow-white gown. Chu Li had already sheathed his blade. He gave a fist salute. Miss Feng, I'm sorry. Zhao Shi's eyes widened. He noticed that Du Feng's aura seemed to have changed instantly. He was so radiant that no one dared to look at him directly. Then, he retracted his aura and became as calm as still water. Just like before, he could not see through him. Feng Shui's eyes shone brightly. She did not feel disappointed or upset at all. Instead, she was secretly excited. Very well, Du Feng. I'll learn from you again. Chu Li nodded. I'll keep you company, but I'll be in isolated cultivation most of the time. Snow Lunar Pavilion won't disturb me. You just need to send them a message. Once I'm out, I'll naturally look for you, Miss Feng. All right. Feng Shui nodded. There's finally someone in the world who can fight with me. I'll definitely defeat you. Chu Li smiled. I hope so. I'll take my leave now. Farewell. Feng Shui scoffed softly and disappeared in a flash. Chu Li watched as she flew up. He slowly turned around and gave a fist salute to Zhao Shi. Brother Zhao, I'll be taking my leave now. Zhao Shi came to his senses and said in disbelief, Brother Du, you actually defeated senior sister Feng. Chu Li smiled. I won by a stroke of luck. It's nothing. Zhao Shi looked at Du Feng admiringly and sighed. Brother Du, I'm ashamed. I've underestimated you. I thought that other than enlightened masters, no one in the world could be senior sister Feng's opponent. I didn't expect your blade technique to be so powerful. Chu Li smiled. It was just a stroke of luck. The more he said that, the more Zhao Shi admired him. If it was really a stroke of luck, Senior Sister Feng would not have willingly admitted defeat. She would have continued to fight. Senior Sister Feng's body technique was too fast. He could not see her clearly and could not avoid her attacks. Du Feng's blade was even faster. He could not even see it. He really did not know how he could swing his blade so fast. Chu Li fist saluted and left Feng Huang Mountain. His steps were calm and steady as he left Feng Huang Mountain. Zhao Shi stared at Chu Li's silhouette as he left. This was how a man should be. As Chu Li walked, he thought about the battle just now. He frowned. If it were not for the nature restoration manifestation, he would not have been Feng Shui's opponent. Her body technique was too fast and her inner energy was strange. If it were not for the single slice of the universe, he would not have been Feng Shui's opponent. It was true that he won by luck because he obtained the single slice of the universe. He had a strange feeling about Feng Shui. There was a strange feeling lingering in his heart. He could not figure out what it was. He laid on a boulder on Spirit Crane's peak facing the sky. The bright sun shone down on his head. It was so warm that he did not want to move. He was thinking about how to store the blade energy elsewhere. He could not leave it in his dantian. He could open up another place to store it. When he needed it, he would be able to activate it. He did not need to practice the 36 energy nurturing forms again. Unfortunately, this idea could not be realized. The dantian was called the dantian because it was different from other acupoints. Other acupoints only communicated with the spring of heaven and earth. Unlike the dantian, it was difficult to store the blade energy. TSS. Suddenly, he heard an air-piercing sound. He turned his head and saw 4 strange flying snakes shooting at him like 4 arrows. He waved his hands repeatedly, and 4 flying knives shot at the flying snake's vital point. The 4 flying snakes were extremely fast. They did not care about Chu Li's flying blades at all. Ding, 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 ding. The 4 flying blades hit the snakeskin. It was as if they had hit a stone. They were deflected and fell to the ground. The 4 flying snakes only paused for a moment before they continued to shoot at Chu Li. Chapter 3660. Chu Li was shocked. Could it be that these 4 flying snakes were coming for him? He found it strange that his flying blade could not cut through their skin even with the single slice of the universe's blade energy. He had used these flying snakes' skin to make leather armor, which was indeed a treasure armor. However, the single slice of the universe's blade energy was so sharp that it should have been able to cut through it. He suddenly grabbed his long blade and leaped into the air. With the nature restoration manifestation, he swung his blade at one of the flying snakes. Swoosh! The flying snake's body was as hard as iron, but the treasure knife cut off its head without any resistance. Instantly, the snake's blood gushed out. Its body twisted violently and kept slapping its surroundings. The rocks that came into contact with the snake's body instantly turned into powder. Its power was shocking. Soon, the area around the snake's body turned into an empty space. The rocks and plants were flattened and merged with the ground. Chu Li let out a long sigh of relief. The nature restoration manifestation was amazing. Under the circumstances where other inner energy could not coexist with the single slice of the universe's blade energy, the nature restoration manifestation could coexist with the blade energy. He could use the nature restoration manifestation and the single slice of the universe at the same time. This multiplied the power of the single slice of the universe by several times. After he landed, the other 3 snakes shot at him. The ferocious snake heads exuded a terrifying aura. The snakes' eyes were cold as if they could freeze a person. The long forked snakes hissed and hissed. It was a terrifying scene. Chu Li turned around and faced the 3 flying snakes again. With a flash of his long blade, another snake head flew up and left the snake's body. The other 2 snakes turned around and fled. Chu Li scoffed but did not chase after them. After 2 slashes, the single slice of the universe's blade energy was exhausted and needed to be replenished. Thus, he quickly performed the 36 energy-nurturing forms to replenish it as soon as possible. In just a short while, the 2 snakes had escaped and disappeared. When he finished performing the 36 energy-nurturing forms and replenished his blade energy, the snake's body underground was still struggling and twisting, sweeping in all directions. Chu Li frowned and stood nearby. He held a flying blade in his hand and activated the light blade. Ding 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 ding. The flying blade seemed to have hit iron and stone. It could not penetrate the snake's skin. He gradually increased the power of the blade energy and finally shot it into the snake's body. He secretly sighed in relief. The knife chi used to activate this flying knife was half of the single slice of the universe. This snakeskin was indeed powerful, but the single slice of the universe allowed the flying knife to pierce through it. This was good enough. The next time he came, he would use the flying knife to serve him. The 4 spirit cranes flew back and saw the twisting bodies of the snakes on the ground. The 2 old spirit cranes stood proudly on the pine branches and ignored the snakes, but the 2 young spirit cranes came over with interest. They pecked out the gallbladders with their long beaks and threw them to Chu Li. Then, they ignored the 2 snakes. It was a bright and beautiful afternoon, and the sunlight was warm on her body. In Tianshu courtyard, Xiao Shi and Xiao Qi were sunbathing in the courtyard. Xiao Shi held a book in her hand as she dozed off on the couch. Xiao Qi, on the other hand, was practicing her swordsmanship. Her sword flashed like water. A loud bang interrupted the 2 people. The scroll in Xiao Shi's hand fell to the ground. She turned her head to look at Chu Li, who had suddenly appeared. Xiao Qi sheathed her sword and stared at him with furrowed brows. Chu Li tossed the snake's body and head to the ground. They did not look big, but they were unusually heavy. When they landed on the ground, they made a sound like a boulder landing on the ground. Chu Li smiled at the 2 women. "They're all here. It's this scary thing again." Xiao Shi scoffed. Chu Li smiled. "You don't want to eat snake meat? All right." Xiao Shi smiled. The flying snake's meat was unusually delicious. It was better than any other delicacy. Xiao Qi curiously looked at the 2 flying snakes. She had never seen snakes like this. She was surprised. "Where did you get them?" 100,000 hills. Chu Li smiled. "These are spirit snakes. They're great nourishment for the body." 100,000 hills. Xiao Qi glanced at Xiao Shi. Xiao Shi had told her about the spirit crane's peak. This was the first time she saw one. Chu Li said, "The snake's skin can be used to make treasured armor. The snake's meat can be eaten. The snake's eyes can be made into pearls. The snake's eyes are not bad." Xiao Shi smiled. "There's no need to light up the house at night. Just put a few of the snake's eyes together and it'll be like a luminous pearl. With these 4, it'll be even brighter." "What a waste!" Xiao Qi shook her head. "The snake's eyes are precious spirit medicine." Xiao Shi smiled. "There's a lot of them. Those snakes always find trouble with the spirit cranes." Chu Li raised his knife and cut off the snake's skin and meat. He then dug out the snake's eyes and teeth. When he was done, the knife energy was used up. Then, he asked Yang Su and the others to stew the snake's meat. After everything was cleaned up, he went back to his courtyard to wash up. He changed into a white robe and came back. There were only 3 people in the courtyard. Xiao Shi had already poured wine for him. He sat down and took a sip. "White shroud Xindao Du Feng." Xiao Shi smiled. Xiao Qi glanced at Chu Li. Chu Li smiled. "What did second lady say?" Xiao Shi said, "Do you know how famous you are now?" "What fame?" "You defeated Feng Fei 9th heaven. How did it get out?" Chu Li was surprised. At that time, there were only 3 people present. He, Feng Shui, and Zhao Shi. Zhao Shi did not have the guts to spread it. Feng Shui admitted it herself. She said she's not as good as you. Xiaoshu said. Chu Li nodded. Fair and square. You really defeated Feng Shui. Xiaoshu was shocked. It only took 2 blades. Xiaoqi said, your blade technique is that good. She knew that Chu Li's incarnation of Du Feng was very famous. He was known as Chu Li of the North and Du Feng of the South, but she always thought that Chu Li was best at swordsmanship. She did not expect his blade technique to be so powerful. Chu Li smiled. I was just lucky. I obtained a peerless blade technique from Tian Luo sect. I practiced it a little and won against Feng Shui. You're really lucky. Tian Luo sect even gave you a blade technique. Xiaoshu praised. Chu Li smiled and nodded. I've always been popular. It's rare for you to be popular with people with that ugly face of yours. Xiaoshu smiled. Xiaoqi asked, what blade technique? Single slice of the universe. Chu Li said, have you heard of it? Single slice of the universe. Xiaoqi and Xiaoshu pondered for a while and shook their heads. I heard it's an ancient blade technique. No one has been able to cultivate it, so they gave it to me. I didn't expect me to cultivate it. Chu Li smiled. It has a lot to do with Spirit Crane's Peak. If it wasn't for Spirit Crane's Peak, I wouldn't have been able to cultivate it. Xiaoshu smiled. Feng Shui's momentum has slowed down. She said she wants to cultivate in isolation. She's not going to challenge me? Chu Li asked. You're as famous as Du Feng. She probably doesn't think she's confident. Xiaoshu smiled. Your reputation has improved. You've benefited from Du Feng. Chu Li laughed. A month passed in the blink of an eye. The Radiance clan's construction was completed. The new Radiance clan was even more magnificent than the previous one. The money obtained from the Windstorm gang and the Roaring Tiger clan had made Ko Chiong and the other 2 rich and imposing. They wanted the best of everything. They used the best materials and hired the best craftsmen. Chu Li left the 3 of them in the Radiance clan. Ko Chiong was the deputy association leader, while Lu Shu and Feng Wuji were the left and right protectors. Chu Li left Gale City and returned to Small Light Peak. Chapter 36-61. Li Ruolan's apricot yellow gown accentuated her fair face, making her even more charming. Great Light Peak. Chu Li was surprised. I'm an Outer Mountain disciple. Can I enter Great Light Peak? You're going to be an Inner Mountain disciple soon. Li Ruolan said. You'll be meeting the saint later. You'll have to explain in detail what you've done during this period of time. Think carefully before you speak. Don't hide anything. You should know that although the Radiance clan hasn't been established yet, our spies in Gale City are no less than the other 3 sects. Chu Li nodded slowly. Li Ruolan's feet fluttered as if she was walking on the wind. She continued, if you hide anything, the saint will send you away. You'll lose the right to compete and never become an Inner Mountain disciple. Chu Li was shocked. How can I not tell a lie? Not even a word, Li Ruolan said seriously. Li Ruolan said solemnly, keep this in mind. Many geniuses couldn't become Inner Mountain disciples because of this. In the end, they were mediocre. Don't repeat their mistakes. All right. Chu Li nodded. Li Ruolan looked at him but was not worried. After all, he had confessed to killing Mo Qingqing. There was nothing more important than this. Chu Li followed her for more than 100 miles before they arrived at a towering peak. They could not see the peak at all. Remember? Chu Li nodded and asked softly, are they the same generation as you, Miss Ruolan? Yes. Li Ruolan lowered her voice. They're patrols. Chu Li was surprised. Miss Ruolan, you're a patrol too? Li Ruolan nodded. What's so surprising about that? Patrols have a high status, right? It's all right. How many patrols are there in total? 36. Oh, that's quite a lot. Chu Li nodded. Li Ruolan glared at him. Patrols were not something an ordinary disciple could dream of. They needed to be highly qualified and capable. They were in the middle ranks of the Holy Church of Light and held great power. A young lady in green came out and walked along the stairs to the crowd. She curtsied and said, "Patrols, let's begin. Invite Duan Qi in." A young lady patted a handsome young man's shoulder and reminded him softly, "Speak your mind. Don't lie. Go." The handsome youth cupped his fists and followed the green-clothed girl into the hall. "This is a formidable opponent," Li Ruolan said in a low voice. "An outer mountain disciple from 10 years ago." Chu Li raised his eyebrows. "Looks like they'll be entering according to the level of their cultivation?" "It's based on who entered the school earlier," Li Ruolan said. "You were the last one to enter." Chu Li smiled. "Then let's find a place to rest. Why are you still standing here like a fool?" Li Ruolan rolled her eyes at him. "If you don't want to stand, then go down the mountain." Chu Li rubbed his nose. "I'll just stand then." Li Ruolan scoffed. "Be serious when you're in the basilica." Chu Li quickly nodded. "Don't worry." Chapter 36-62. After the first 9 people entered the basilica, they came out after 10 minutes. Their expressions were calm, and one could not tell whether they were happy, angry, or sad. They were trying hard to hide their emotions, but it was obvious that they had passed the test. "Zhao Daif." The girl in green came to him. "Follow me." Chu Li smiled at Li Ruolan. "Don't worry." Li Ruolan's face tensed up. "Remember what I said." Chu Li waved his hand and followed the girl in green. "Senior sister, what's your position?" Chu Li asked. The girl in green smiled. "I'm an inner mountain disciple." "You must be an extraordinary disciple to be able to work for the saint," Chu Li said. The girl in green said, "All inner mountain disciples have a chance. There's a change every month, so it's always your turn." "I see." Chu Li smiled. The girl in green looked at him curiously. When the outer mountain disciples arrived at the front of the main hall, all of them were extremely nervous. This was because they were going to meet the saintess, and they were going to face the final test. If they were to tell a lie, they would be stripped of their qualification to become an inner mountain disciple. Lying had become an instinct for many of them. Some of them did not even know that they were lying, and such people were often eliminated. They had to think carefully about every word they said, and their minds were tense. No one was as relaxed as Zhao Daif, who dared to strike up a conversation with her. He was ugly but had an interesting personality. When they arrived at the basilica, the saint, Sun Mingyue, sat quietly behind the desk. Her bright eyes shone like spring water as she asked, "Zhao Daif, has your Radiance clan been built?" "It's done. I've subdued 3 old men and put them in charge of the Radiance clan. If you're not satisfied, you can replace them." "It's them then," the saint said. "They're slick and they're suitable to stay in Gale City. It's rare that you have a good relationship with the 3 sects." "Hee hee, you flatter me. I don't have a good relationship with the White Tiger sect. If it wasn't for Yang Ying, we'd still be fighting now. The White Tiger sect's honey trap is brilliant." "What do you think of the Tian Luo sect?" Sun Mingyue asked. "Very good," Chu Li said. "They helped me a lot at a crucial time. Otherwise, I'd have to escape and I wouldn't have been able to build the Radiance clan. If one day, I want you to go against the Tian Luo sect, what will you do?" Sun Mingyue asked. Chu Li shook his head. "I'm indebted to the Tian Luo sect. How can I repay their kindness with ingratitude? Are you loyal to the Holy Church or the Tian Luo sect?" Sun Mingyue said faintly, "You're a disciple of the Holy Church, you have to think for the Holy Church. If the Holy Church becomes enemies with the Tian Luo sect, are you going to turn against us?" Chu Li replied, "Of course I won't. I won't help either side." "If you don't help, the Holy Church's disciples will be killed by the Tian Luo sect's disciples. What will you do then?" Sun Mingyue asked. Chu Li scratched his head. "Of course I can't just watch them kill their fellow disciples. What would you do if the Holy Church's disciples killed the Tianluo sect's disciples while you were helping? Well, Chu Li frowned and did not say anything. This was indeed a troublesome matter. In a dilemma, he would not be able to please either side and would become a public enemy. What would you do if a disciple of the Church of Light killed Miss Ru? Sun Mingyue asked. Chu Li's expression changed slightly. Sun Mingyue asked, "Will you avenge Miss Ru?" "I don't know." Chu Li shook his head. Sun Mingyue asked, "If this person kills Miss Yangying, will you seek revenge on him?" "I will," Chu Li replied slowly. "If he kills both of them, it'll be obvious that he's targeting me. Of course, I'll take action. If you take action, you'll be expelled from the Holy Church. Your martial arts will be crippled and your inheritance will be returned," Sun Mingyue said. Chu Li frowned. "I won't do it myself. I'll find a way to plot against him. I'll take revenge anyway." He looked at Sun Mingyue helplessly. "My saint, am I going to be eliminated?" Sun Mingyue replied, "You're only not allowed to lie in this round. As for what you say, as long as it's not a lie, you won't be eliminated." Chu Li let out a long sigh of relief. "Thank God." Sun Mingyue calmly said, "Zhao Dave, your temper is very dangerous. You're too easily provoked." Chu Li replied, "Living in this world is meant to be joyful. Otherwise, what's the point of living? The purpose of practicing martial arts is to seek revenge. Otherwise, what's the point of practicing martial arts?" "Your joy means that others won't be happy," Sun Mingyue said. "Others will make you unhappy too. Either way, you'll suffer a huge setback sooner or later with this idea of yours." "I'm lucky. That won't happen." Chu Li smiled nonchalantly. Sun Mingyue secretly shook her head and did not say anything else. She calmly said, "Come back tomorrow. We'll compete in the basilica to determine the top 5. You may leave now." "Yes, goodbye." Chu Li fist saluted and left the basilica. She touched her forehead and sighed. The girl in green asked softly, "My saint, is this Zhao De really capable?" She was a little frightened as she listened to their conversation. Zhao De was too bold and spoke without restraint. Sun Mingyue sighed. "Let's try. We can't just eliminate him like this." "Yes." The girl in green nodded. Chu Li walked out of the basilica and smiled at Li Ruolin. "Pass." Li Ruolin sighed in relief. "Let's go." Both of them returned to Small Light Peak. The next morning, they followed Li Ruolin to Great Light Peak. The 10 of them entered the basilica and drew a number. Then, they had to fight in pairs. Each of them had to fight 9 battles. A win would earn them a point, while a loss would not. They would be ranked according to their scores. The top 5 would become Inner Mountain Disciples. If their scores were the same, another battle would be added to determine the winner. Chu Li's first opponent was a beautiful girl with a sharp sword technique. Chu Li used his light blade to knock away her long sword and won. The remaining 4 pairs were locked in a stalemate. Their exquisite techniques were endless and they were evenly matched. Chu Li, on the other hand, only needed to swing his blade once to settle the matter. No one could stop him. Even the 2 Outer Mountain disciples who had been cultivating diligently for 10 years were defeated by his light blade. It could be said that he was invincible and unquestionably ranked first. Sun Mingyue sat behind the table and watched quietly. The 2 girls in green and the 10 patrols were also watching. They looked at Li Ruolin with envy when they saw how Chu Li played it down. It was obvious that none of the 10 Outer Mountain disciples were a match for Chu Li. However, he was the youngest Outer Mountain disciple to join the sect. Chu Li easily took the first place. The second and third place had the same score. They were the 2 disciples who had been cultivating hard for 10 years. One of them was Duan Qi and the other was the girl, Ji Ziwei. After the 2 of them fought again, Ji Ziwei won and ranked second. With that, the ranking was decided and Chu Li ranked first. He initially thought that it would be a grand martial arts competition and that many people would come to watch. he would become famous in the Holy Church of Light and everyone would know about him. Especially his 9-layered light blade, it could be said that he was the best after the saint. He would definitely amaze everyone. Chapter 36-63. Chu Li and Li Ruolin glided down the great light peak and returned to his small light peak. Chu Li sat on the couch while Li Ruolin sat on the chair opposite him. Chu Li smiled. "You're so serious. Shouldn't you be happy and celebrate?" Li Ruolin was dressed in an apricot gown. Her charming eyes were serious as she shook her head. "The time to be happy is over. You must listen to me now so that you won't be at a disadvantage in the great light peak." Chu Li smiled and nodded. "All right, I'll listen. However, I'm going to the sutra library. It should be peaceful and nothing will happen, right? There will be disputes wherever there are people. How can there be peace?" Li Ruolin shook her head. "The fights in the Great Light Peak are more intense. If you do well in the Great Light Peak and don't cause any trouble, you'll have the opportunity to leave the mountain and achieve a high position." Chu Li asked, "Like Miss Ruolin, become a patrol?" "You still have 2 big steps to take to become a patrol." Li Ruolin shook her head. "Don't think about it for the time being." Chu Li asked, "What are the other 2 steps?" "First, you'll have to leave the mountain. This step is not easy." Li Ruolin sighed. "You're a foreign disciple. Unlike the official disciples, you'll have fewer chances to leave the mountain." Chu Li was confused. "Foreign disciple?" Li Ruolin explained, "You're geniuses collected from all over the world. Geniuses are geniuses, but the Holy Church will inevitably have concerns about your loyalty. No matter how sharp a sword is, it's useless if it doesn't belong to you." Chu Li nodded slowly. "I understand. That's why the Holy Church of Light is wary of outer mountain disciples like us." "Yes." Li Ruolin nodded. "Your identities are complicated and the environment you live in is different. Your personalities are unpredictable too. We don't know what you'll do in the future and whether you'll betray the Holy Church. There are official disciples." Chu Li frowned. Li Ruolin explained, "I'm an official disciple. My parents are disciples of the Holy Church of Light. I grew up in the Great Light Peak and cultivated the martial arts of the Holy Church of Light. That's why I won't betray the Holy Church. The Great Light Peak is my home." Chu Li smiled bitterly. "There are many people like this, right? Most of the disciples of the Holy Church of Light are like this." Li Ruolin nodded slowly and said, "Think about it, there's a martial arts competition every 5 years, and only the top 5 will be selected. Only 10 people will be selected in 10 years, and only 100 people will be selected in 100 years." Chu Li sighed. The descendants of the Holy Church of Light's disciples might not necessarily be smart. Using the Holy Church of Light's unique foundation-building method and a good education, Li Ruolin said calmly, "No matter how stupid a child is, he won't be too bad. Even if he can't become one, he'll still have a chance to leave the mountain and make a name for himself. From there, he'll become a deputy branch leader, then a branch leader, and finally a patrol." "All right, what should I do?" "You don't talk back when you're being scolded and pretend to be deaf and mute," Li Ruolin said. Chu Li shook his head. "Impossible." Li Ruolin scoffed and said, "If you don't do as I say, then don't even think about leaving the mountain. You're the first place this time, so you're the target of everyone. Once you enter the mountain, you'll definitely be put in a difficult position. With your temper, do you think you'll be able to endure it?" Sigh. Chu Li let out a long sigh. "What a mess. I can't even cultivate quietly if I want to." Li Ruolin shook her head and said, "It's not that easy. Moreover, you've occupied a spot in the sutra library, so you're already a public enemy. Everyone wants to force you out. If you want to stay here, you'll have to endure the hardships. If you go by your own temper, you'll soon be plotted against, and you might even be expelled from the Holy Church." Chu Li frowned and remained silent. Li Ruolin said, "The saint is wise. Her eyes are like a torch and she can see through everything. As long as you control yourself and don't do anything extreme when you're angry and don't hurt anyone, you'll be able to escape unscathed." Chu Li sighed and said, "All right, I'll be careful." Li Ruolin looked at him sternly. "This isn't a joke. Once you've entered the Great Light Peak, even a dragon will have to coil up. Don't show off your power in the Great Light Peak. You must endure humiliation and hardship. Only then will you be able to sharpen your character. From then on, you'll be as firm as a rock, immovable and undisturbed by the world." Chu Li said helplessly, "All right, I'll endure it." Li Ruolin sighed in relief when she saw that he had listened to her. "After you've entered the peak, look for someone called Xia Shui. She'll help you." Chu Li raised his eyebrows. Li Ruolin said, "She's my best friend. I've already spoken to her." Chu Li did not say any more words of gratitude. Li Ruolin said, "If there's anything you don't understand, ask Xia Shui. She'll guide you. Ask for her opinion on everything." "Can't we meet?" Chu Li asked. Li Ruolin shook her head and said, "I'm going to the Qiu dynasty. I don't know when I'll be back." "Why are you going to the Qiu dynasty?" "It's a secret mission. I can't say much about it," Li Ruolin said. "It won't be dangerous, right?" "Even if it's dangerous, I'll be able to escape," Li Ruolin said. Chu Li frowned. It was obvious that this trip to the Qiu dynasty would be dangerous. "Why don't I go with you? You're an inner mountain disciple now. You can't leave the mountain yet." Li Ruolin shook her head. Chu Li frowned. "Can't I not enter the mountain first?" Li Ruolin could not help but laugh. "I'm not that kind of delicate woman. I can protect myself. Don't worry about me. Worry about yourself." When she saw how anxious and concerned Chu Li was, her heart warmed and her smile softened. Chu Li said, "It's more important to stay alive. Don't overexert yourself." Chapter 36-64. The next morning, Chu Li left Small Light Peak with Li Ruolin and arrived at Great Light Peak. When they arrived at the basilica, there were already 5 elders waiting for them. Sun Mingyue was still sitting behind her desk, reading through the files. When she heard Chu Li and Li Ruolin's footsteps, she raised her head and glanced at them. Then, she calmly said, "Since you're the first to arrive, let Zhao Dai go directly." Zhao Dai. A silver-haired elder stood up and fist saluted. "Saint will be bringing him back to the Sutra Library." I'll leave him to you, Elder Zhao." Sun Mingyue lowered her head and continued reading the files. "He's a genius that only appears once every 20 years. The silver-haired elder was stunned, then fist saluted. "I understand. Don't worry, Saint." Sun Mingyue waved her hand without lifting her head. Li Ruolin whispered, "This is Zhao Zhe, the pavilion leader of the Sutra Library." Chu Li nodded. The silver-haired elder approached Chu Li and smiled at Li Ruolin. "Ruolin, is he your disciple?" "Yes, please take care of him, Elder Zhao, and teach him more," Li Ruolin said with a sweet smile. Zhao Zhe chuckled. "Of course. Don't worry, leave him to me." He turned to look at Chu Li. "Follow me." Chu Li fist saluted and nodded at Li Ruolin. Then, he fist saluted Sun Mingyue, who was reading the files, and followed Zhao Zhe out of the basilica. Zhao Dai. Zhao Zhe walked with his hands behind his back. Chu Li followed closely behind and fist saluted. "Pavilion leader Zhao." Zhao Zhe said, "You're lucky to have a good guide." Chu Li knew he was referring to Li Ruolin. "Miss Ruolin is a good person. Her parents are from the Sutra Library too." Zhao Zhe glanced at him. "That's why you're able to stand firm in the Sutra Library." "Huh!" Chu Li was surprised. Li Ruolin did not tell him about this. Zhao Zhe said, however, "You can't slack off because of this, lest someone finds something to use against you and reports you to the higher-ups. Then, your job will be ruined, and I'm afraid you'll be transferred to the spirit medicine nursery." Chu Li replied, "Yes, I will do my best." Yes, you have to put your heart into it. Especially since you've just arrived, you need to put in a lot of effort to do it well. The matters of the Sutra Depository are not as simple as you think. Zhao Zhi nodded in satisfaction, not stopping in his tracks. Chu Li asked, "What should I do then?" "Since you've just arrived, you should start familiarizing yourself with the Sutra Depository. You'll be in charge of cleaning the Sutra Depository," Zhao Zhi said gently. "If there are no mistakes and you don't slack off, we'll adjust it next year." Chu Li smiled bitterly. "How long can I stay in the Sutra Library?" "That will depend on your abilities." Zhao Zhi shook his head and said, "At least a year, at most 5 years." "That's good." Chu Li let out a long sigh of relief. "But the martial arts competition is held every 5 years, so there shouldn't be any newcomers, right? Why can't it only be held for a year?" "There's a change of assignment every year. You might not be able to stay in the Sutra Library next year," Zhao Zhi said. "Once you enter the Sutra Library, it's not like you'll stay there forever." Chu Li was surprised. "Every year?" "Yes." Zhao Zhi smiled. "Every year, you newcomers will have a martial arts competition and your assignment will be decided based on your ranking. If you're in the top 3 in next year's martial arts competition, you'll still stay in the Sutra Library. If you fall out of the top 3, you'll have to leave the Sutra Library to take up another assignment. Therefore, when you're working in the Sutra Library, you mustn't neglect your cultivation." "Yes." Chu Li nodded helplessly. "I just don't know how many people will be competing." 15, Zhao Zhi said. Chu Li pondered. 15 new disciples would compete. This time, only 5 of them would be selected as Inner Mountain disciples. The remaining 10 would be direct disciples of the Holy Church of Light. It seemed like he and his group were the minority, only 1/3 of the total. Zhao Zhi glanced at him and said, "The disciples who are selected from outside usually lose their assignments in the second year. However, the saints said that you're a genius that appears once every 20 years. You might be able to break this rule." "Yes, I'll stay in the Sutra Library," Chu Li said. "Good lad, you talk big." Zhao Zhi laughed. "Let's see if you're that capable." The two of them chatted as they walked down. After walking for more than 100 meters, they arrived in front of a towering building. This basilica was not as magnificent as the basilica where the saint was, but it was taller. It had a total of 4 floors and stood tall on top of the ice peak, standing proudly between heaven and earth. There were disciples going in and out of the huge 4-story building from time to time. Zhao Zhi grinned. "It's not easy to clean the Sutra Library." Chu Li smiled bitterly. "Am I the only one cleaning? There are 3 of you." Zhao Zhi smiled. "Each of you is responsible for 1 floor. The highest floor doesn't need to be cleaned." Chu Li let out a long sigh. Zhao Zhi said, "This isn't a difficult task. As long as you're willing to put in the effort, you can do it well." "Don't worry, pavilion leader. I'll clean it well," Chu Li said. "I hope so." Zhao Zhi smiled. The two of them walked up the 36 steps and went up to the first floor. Chu Li felt that this place was similar to the library in his past life. A long counter blocked the rows of bookshelves. The only way to enter was through a small door behind the counter. After entering the small door, one had to hand in their identity jade tag, and retrieve their identity jade tag when they came out. A beautiful young lady in green was sitting behind the counter. She was in charge of collecting identity jade tags. Her movements were quick and agile. "You'll be in charge of the cleaning of this floor." Zhao Zhi took out a white jade token from his pocket and handed it to him. "This is your identity jade token. You can enter and exit the Sutra Depository freely. Every night when everyone leaves, you will clean the place. During the day, you can read in the building." Chu Li Fist saluted and thanked him. Zhao Zhi said, "But remember, you can't leave the Sutra Library. You have to come in the morning and only leave after cleaning at night." You're not allowed to leave the sutra library for the whole day. There's a room for you here. You can rest or cultivate there." As he spoke, he brought Chu Li into the counter. The lady in green did not check their jade tags and let them in. The two of them went behind a bookshelf and pushed open a door in the wall. They entered a small room. The small room was extremely narrow. There was only a bed and a table. There was not even a chair. Only one person could sit in it. You can just open the door and go out to read. When you're tired, you can come here to rest or cultivate. Zhao Zhi smiled. "Isn't this a good job?" Chu Li smiled and nodded. He glanced at the bookshelf. The rows of shelves were filled with all kinds of books. Through the omniscient mirror, he saw that the titles of these books were not martial arts secret manuals. They were miscellaneous books. There were all kinds of them, but he liked them very much. "Pavilion leader, can I go up to the second and third floor?" "No problem," Zhao Zhi said. "But the secret manuals can only be read. You can't bring them out. Even we can't. If you want to read, you can only go in and read them. Try your best to remember them." "Yes." Chu Li nodded. He really did not need to take them out. They could be imprinted in his mind in one go. "All right, I've told you everything. If there's nothing else, you can take a break. I'll get someone to serve you when it's time to eat." Zhao Zhi smiled. Chapter 36-65. P.S. 6 chapters complete. He longed for support. He was lying on the couch with his back facing the sky. This was an extremely narrow room, but the surroundings were filled with the fragrance of ink, making his mind exceptionally peaceful. It was indeed an excellent place to practice martial art. Although there was the incessant sound of flipping books outside, it was still very peaceful. The omniscient mirror observed his surroundings, and the entire sutra library was imprinted in his mind, allowing him to see inside and outside clearly. There were a total of 60 bookshelves on the first floor, and each shelf had 4 layers. Each layer contained about 200 books. Based on this calculation, the number of books on the first floor was already extremely shocking, and there were actually 4 floors. This sutra library was truly a vast sea of books, enough to read for half a lifetime. Moreover, there were about 200 people in the sutra library. The first floor had the least, and the second and third floors had the most people. There were more than 150 people in total. As for the fourth floor, there were more than 100 bookshelves, and the space between each bookshelf was extremely narrow, barely enough for one person to walk through. There were more than 50 people on the fourth floor, and most of them were middle-aged or elderly. They were all holding books and concentrating on reading. On the second and third floors, most of them were young people, less than 40 years old, and their cultivation levels were not too high. Chu Li suddenly felt excited. How many martial arts secret manuals were there? It was beyond imagination. With so many martial arts secret manuals, could he not pick one that he liked? Could the spirit crane technique that he was looking for be in here? When he thought of this, he became high-spirited and excited. He pushed the door open and went straight to the third floor. He flashed his jade tag, and then walked into the bookshelf area on the third floor without any obstructions. His gaze swept across the room, reading one secret manual after another. Absolute arts entered his eyes one after another, dazzling his eyes. He suddenly let out a long sigh of relief, and was filled with happiness. There were so many martial arts secret manuals to read and cultivate. What a blissful life! His gaze swept through quickly, and finally stopped in front of a bookshelf. He took out a secret manual, and the words 6 spirit crane forms were written on it. He flipped through the secret manual, and it was indeed the 6 spirit crane forms, and there were no mistakes. He felt an inexplicable chill in his heart. The Holy Church of Light was able to obtain the entry-level martial arts of Green Deer Cliff, one of the 4 major sections. Moreover, it was displayed here for the disciples of the Holy Church of Light to see. What was even more outrageous was that the 6 forms of spirit crane was placed together with the other secret manuals around it without any indication of emphasis. It was as if it was no different from the other secret manuals around it, and was not a unique skill of Green Deer Cliff. Could it be that all the secret manuals around here were top-notch secret manuals that were similar to the 6 styles of spirit crane? Unconvinced, he put away the 6 styles of spirit crane and took out a giant spirit palm. After looking through it carefully, his expression became solemn. This set of giant spirit palm was also an exquisite lost art with astonishing power. It was very suitable for him to cultivate. The giant spirit palm used strength to subdue people, and it was even more suitable for those who were born with great strength to cultivate. As long as one mastered this palm, one palm strike would be able to amplify the strength of one's entire body by 2 times. Many top-notch masters and even disciples of major sects would have treasured armor to protect their bodies, so the palm energy would be weakened. However, when faced with the giant spirit palm, it would be useless. With one palm strike, the tyrannical power would directly send people flying. It did not hurt people through inner energy, but through violent vibrations. It was like wearing armor that could block flying knives, but if the person wearing armor was thrown from a height of 100 meters, it would be difficult for him to survive. The vibrations alone were enough to kill him. Chu Li took out another floating flower palm, but this time, he pushed the subtlety of the palm technique to the extreme. Once it was performed, only the shadow of the palm could be seen, like falling petals, and no trace of the palms could be seen. Chu Li shook his head in admiration, and took out another shattering heart fist. This fist technique was fierce and ruthless, and its power was astonishing. After flipping through a few secret manuals, he suddenly felt that it was not a good thing to have so many secret manuals. There were so many secret manuals with extraordinary power. If he cultivated all of them, it would be impossible to have enough time. Moreover, the power of these martial arts was amazing, but it would be useless if he cultivated too much. The shattering heart fist and the shadowless fist were both fist technique. After learning the shattering heart fist, there was no need to cultivate the shadowless fist. The shattering heart fist could not do anything to the opponent, and the shadowless fist might not be effective either. At the end of the day, the most important thing was still one's cultivation level. If one's cultivation level was not high enough, no matter how exquisite the technique was, its power would be limited. He suddenly put down the secret manuals and went to another bookshelf. He took out a book with the title Preliminary Exploration of the Great Light Scripture, which explained the scripture's meaning. Chu Li glanced through it and put it down. He took out another book called Theory of the Origin of the Great Light Scripture, and flipped through a few pages before putting it down. He felt that what was written in it might not be correct and was not worth referring to, so he took out another book. This bookshelf seemed to be expanding the Great Light Scripture, allowing the cultivator to understand the endless mysteries of the Great Light Scripture. Not only could they cultivate the Great Light Scripture, but they could also discover the mystical skills hidden in the Great Light Scripture. Unknowingly, Chu Li flipped through the books for the entire morning. At noon, Zhao Zhi walked over. His silver hair made him look hale and hearty, and he was in high spirits. "Zhao Dave, come with me. Let's go eat together." He walked over to Chu Li. Chu Li quickly put down the book and gave a fist salute. He followed Zhao Zhi out of the bookshelf area and out of the counter. He noticed that there were already 2 women waiting outside. They were both young girls around his age. It would be a stretch to call them beautiful, but they were full of youth and good looks. "Let's go. This is Mo Tsuetsue and this is Sun Lihua." Zhao Zhi introduced them and then brought the 3 of them out of the sutra library. They walked down to a tall building that was slightly smaller than the sutra library. Flavorful Tower. Chu Li glanced at the signboard and knew that this was the place to eat. Zhao Zhi brought them straight to the crowded first floor, then found a table and ordered a few dishes. This flavorful tower was almost the same as the restaurants outside. The service was very attentive. Soon, 8 dishes and 2 soups were served. The food looked, smelled, and tasted great. Zhao Zhe ate very little. He put down his chopsticks after a few mouthfuls and told them to eat slowly. He wanted to go back. After Chu Li watched Zhao Zhe leave, he slowly sat down and continued eating. Emo Tsue was a young girl with a few freckles on the bridge of her nose. She stared at Chu Li without blinking. Chu Li smiled at her. Emo Tsue scoffed. "What are you smiling at?" "We're from the same faction," Chu Li said. "Please take care of me in the future." "Zhao Dave, you were promoted from an outer mountain disciple, right?" Sun Lihua asked gently. Chu Li nodded. Sun Lihua had a gentle temperament and was very feminine. "Yes." Chu Li nodded. "Both of you are direct disciples. Have you lived on the mountain since you were young?" "Yes, we were born on the mountain and have been here since we were young." Sun Lihua sighed. "We really want to go out and see what kind of world it is." Chu Li said, "It's not as good as here. We still have to see it." Sun Lihua smiled. Emo Tsue sneered. "Zhao Dave, you know Emo Qingqing, right?" Chu Li was stunned. He nodded. "I do. Emo Qingqing is my cousin." Emo Tsue sneered. "You killed her?" Chu Li frowned. "You're Emo Qingqing's cousin?" "That's right." Emo Tsue gritted her teeth. "You're quite bold. How dare you kill my cousin?" Chu Li sighed. "I had no choice. She wanted to kill me. If I didn't kill her, I would have died." Chapter 3666. Chu Li grinned. "I don't understand. Since Emo Qingqing is altar leader Mo's niece, why did she become an outer mountain disciple? Can't she just stay in the mountain? What's the use of cultivating for 10 years? Emo Tsue glared at him coldly and ignored him. Sun Lihua explained, "Because Emo Qingqing is altar leader Mo's niece, not his daughter." Chu Li raised his eyebrows. "Only biological children?" "That's right." Sun Lihua gently nodded and said, "If even relatives can come to Great Light Peak, our Great Light Peak would be overcrowded." Chu Li looked around and asked, "Why are they all young people? Don't I see the seniors from the previous generation?" "They're not here." Sun Lihua answered gently, "They're in another Great Light Peak." Her voice was gentle and kind, making it difficult for people to lose their temper. Chu Li was surprised. "There's another Great Light Peak?" Sun Lihua nodded. "There are 9 divine light bodies in total." 9. Chu Li smiled bitterly. "That many? This Great Light Peak is where the new disciples stay." Sun Lihua explained, "After 5 years, the next batch of disciples will come and we'll enter the second Great Light Peak." Chu Li nodded slowly. "No wonder. Can we enter the other peaks now?" "No." Sun Lihua shook her head. "We can only move around in our respective Great Light Peaks and not other peaks. Especially inner disciples like us, we're not allowed to go home. Within the first year, we can only move around in the area we're responsible for. We're not allowed to go to other places. Just like the 3 of us, we can only stay in the Sutra Library. We're not allowed to go to the Divine Armament Hall, Herbalist Hall, Spirit Herb Nursery, or the cafeteria." Chu Li smiled. "Staying in the Sutra Library isn't bad. We can only cultivate or read in the Sutra Library. They're forcing us to read and cultivate." Sun Lihua smiled. "This is the best job, so junior brother Zhao, don't waste this opportunity. Focus on cultivating." There's no point in cultivating." Emo Tsue sneered. "We'll be kicked out of the Sutra Library next year anyway. We still don't know who'll be kicked out." Chu Li glanced at her. "Among the 3 of us, your cultivation level is the lowest. At the very least, I'm still stronger than you." Emo Tsue said disdainfully, "I heard that you've only been initiated for a few months and you've been cultivating for less than a year. You're just lucky that you managed to master the light blade. Sun Lihua was surprised. Only a few months? Chu Li nodded. Yes, senior sister Sunday. It's true that I've cultivated for less than a year. If I were to cultivate for another year in the sutra library, I'm sure I'll improve a lot. As expected of an outer mountain disciple. Sun Lihua exclaimed, to be able to cultivate to such an extent in just a few months, and even win first place in the outer mountain disciple competition, what a genius! She knew that the competition between outer mountain disciples was extremely fierce, and it was not something that the direct disciples could imagine. The competition between the direct disciples was also very intense. However, because they had played together since they were young, they would consider each other's feelings. Moreover, there were many ways to retreat, so the fights were considered peaceful. However, it was different for the outer mountain disciples. They did not know each other and had no way to retreat. Emo Tsuetsue's cousin sister had died because of this, so it was obvious how tragic it was. Therefore, the official disciples were wary of these outer mountain disciples. These outer mountain disciples were all ruthless individuals who would resort to unscrupulous means to enter the Great Light Peak. If they were to really fight, they might not be able to defeat them, so they had to rely on numbers. Chu Li smiled. Of course, I'm a genius, so I'll always be in the sutra library. You're really good at bragging. Emo Tsuetsue sneered. During this year's competition, senior brother Song gave way to senior sister Sun and allowed her to enter the sutra library. It might not be the same for next year's competition. Sun Lihua hurriedly glared at her. Junior sister Emo Tsuetsue scoffed. Senior brother Song will definitely enter the sutra library next year. That's enough. Sun Lihua waved her hand. Chu Li grinned. Senior brother Song? Which senior brother Song? Senior brother Song Donglin. Emo Tsuetsue said. Senior brother Song is handsome, and his martial arts is top-notch. He's also deeply in love with senior sister Sunday, junior sister Emo. Sun Lihua was annoyed. As they were talking, a young man in a green robe strode over and smiled. Junior sister Sun, junior sister Emo, you're both here. Senior brother Song. Emo Tsuetsue smiled. We were just talking about you and you're here. Sun Lihua shook her head and stared at the slender and handsome young man with her bright eyes. The young man in a green robe fist saluted and smiled at Chu Li. I'm Song Donglin. You must be junior brother Zhao Dave, right? Chu Li fist saluted. I'm Zhao Dave. Nice to meet you. Song Donglin smiled. I'll have to trouble you to take care of junior sister Sun and junior sister Emo, brother Zhao. They're both weak women, so please take care of them. Chu Li smiled. It's what I should do. Song Donglin said. I'm at the Divine Armament Hall. Junior brother Zhao, do you want a sword or a blade? How about I get you a treasure sword or blade? Chu Li was surprised. A treasure sword or blade? We're in charge of forging and repairing weapons. It's not too difficult for us to secretly forge one for you, Song Donglin said with a smile. The hall master is also willing to turn a blind eye as long as it's not too much. I'm cultivating the light blade. Are there any sharper flying blades? Chu Li asked. Song Donglin said, the Divine Armament Hall has the most light blades, but the better they are, the more expensive they are. Junior brother Zhao, you can't afford them now. I can get you two, but you can't make too many. Thank you, senior brother Song. Chu Li fist saluted and smiled. This senior brother Song is really interesting. He's full of kindness. He doesn't seem to be angry at me for snatching his spot, nor does he have any enmity towards me because I'm an outer mountain disciple. It's unlike what Li Ruolin said about the two factions being incompatible like fire and water. Song Donglin waved his hand and smiled. I can't help you with anything else, but this is not a problem. In the future, when you come to the Divine Armament Hall to forge weapons, Come and look for me. I'll find a way to get an internal price that's half the usual price. Tsue scoffed in dissatisfaction. Senior brother Song, he's an outer mountain disciple. Chu Li looked at her with a smile. Song Donglin laughed. We're all disciples of the Holy Church of Light, so we're family. Besides, you'll be spending at least a year with junior brother Zhao. Why are you guys being so distant? I'm not family with him. Tsue glared at Chu Li. Sun Lihua gave Song Donglin a look. Song Donglin was a little confused, but he did not say anything else. He fist saluted and left with a smile. Chu Li smiled. It's rare to see someone like senior brother Song. His words were sincere praise. Song Donglin's cultivation level was higher than Chu Li's. Although he would not be able to withstand a single blade from Chu Li, he was still a rare talent. It was no wonder Tsue said that. He turned to Tsue and said, Senior sister you're still far behind senior brother Song. I'm afraid senior brother Song will defeat you in the competition next year. Your cultivation level is even worse. Tsue scoffed. Chu Li smiled. I have the light blade. Tsue's beautiful face darkened as she glared at him. Chapter 36-67. After Chu Li finished his meal, he slowly returned to the sutra library. He suddenly felt that he had returned to the time when he first entered the public house. It was the quietest time back then, and it was also the time when he could study in peace. Once he left the library, there were more and more things to do, and he could not study in peace. It was the same now that he had entered the Great Light Peak. This was the time when he needed to focus on his studies. It was impossible for him to get any information about the Holy Church of Light. The disciples of this peak were all new disciples. There was no information to speak of. However, there were about 200 people in the library. He was puzzled. How could there be so many people? Logically speaking, there were only 15 new disciples every 5 years. How could there be so many? He still had not figured out the operation of the Holy Church of Light. He needed to learn bit by bit. He looked at the people in the sutra library. Most of them were about the same age as him. There were also some who were older. There were even some who were around 40 years old. Their cultivation level was high. They were probably not new disciples. He guessed that the new disciples couldn't wander around randomly and couldn't go to other peaks, while the older disciples could come back here. The scripture depository was very likely the only one among the 9 peaks, and not all peaks had a scripture depository. He was not in a hurry to look at other secret manuals. His priority now was to cultivate the divine light technique. He had been cultivating the scripture of divine light, which strengthened his divine light body. Hence, his progress in cultivating the divine light technique was very fast. This was the fastest time for him to cultivate the divine light technique. He should not be distracted by other martial arts. Moreover, his current environment was simple. There seemed to be no disputes. The light blade was enough to protect himself. In the evening, after the sun had set, the sutra library began to close. Zhao Zhe and the others had also left. There were only 3 people left in the huge sutra library: Chu Li, Tsue, and Sun Lihua. Chu Li carefully cleaned the first floor and went to the second floor to greet Sun Lihua. Tsue was still busy upstairs. Junior brother Zhao, wait for a while. The 3 of us will go eat together. Sun Lihua was dressed in a green outfit. She looked valiant and gentle. Her voice was soft and gentle. It was hard to refuse her. Chu Li asked, Senior sister Sun, are the people who came to the sutra library from the first peak? How is that possible? Sun Lihua laughed. How many disciples are there in the first peak? Chu Li said, they can come here, but we can't go to their place. Yes. Sun Lihua nodded. They can come here, but we can't. How many disciples does the Holy Church of Light have? Chu Li asked. Sun Lihua shook her head. I'm afraid that only the bishop knows about this. Other than the bishop, no one else knows. The 9 peaks are divided into the upper 3 peaks, the middle 3 peaks, and the lower 3 peaks. Almost no one knows how many people live in the upper 3 peaks. It's said that the upper 3 peaks are the most comfortable. The spiritual energy there far surpasses that of the lower 3 peaks and the middle 3 peaks. If you live in the upper 3 peaks, even if you don't know any martial arts, you can still live for more than 300 years. Chu Li sighed. How unfathomable. Take your time. There's no rush. Sun Lihua smiled and said, Right now we can only stay in the sutra depository. We can't go anywhere else. It's useless to know too much. Sigh, I wonder if I can enter the 3rd peak. Chu Li shook his head and sighed. I don't know if I can live until then. Now that I've offended altar leader Mo, my life will be in danger. That won't happen. Sun Lihua looked like she couldn't bear it. She knew that altar leader Mo wouldn't let him go. Mo Tsuetsue wouldn't let the murderer who killed her cousin go either. His future was indeed unpredictable. What she could do was to ease the relationship between him and Mo Tsuetsue. If their relationship improved, altar leader Mo wouldn't kill him. I wonder if there's a senior sister Xia Shui in our tower? Chu Li asked. Senior sister Xia Shui. Sun Lihua thought for a while and said, I think there's a senior sister Xia Shui in the torture chamber. Torture chamber? Chu Li asked. We have a torture chamber here. Of course. Sun Lihua smiled. Without a torture chamber, who's going to punish the disciples if they break the rules? Don't tell me that you think no one cares about us? I don't see anyone caring about us. Chu Li shook his head. Sun Lihua smiled. You can't usually see them. But if you make a mistake, they'll appear. Chu Li nodded. Where is the torture chamber? We can't go there. Sun Lihua shook her head. Chu Li nodded and said no more. Mo Tsuetsue quickly came down. When she saw Chu Li, her pretty face instantly darkened. Chu Li smiled and greeted. Senior sister Mo Tsuetsue coldly said, You don't have to wait for me. Sun Lihua said, All right, we're together. Let's go to the canteen together. I'm annoyed by this guy. Senior sister Sun, let's not go with him. Mo Tsuetsue hurriedly said. Sun Lihua said, Everyone else is in a group of 3. It's not good for us to be alone. Don't be like this. What's wrong with it? He's an outer mountain disciple anyway. Mo Tsuetsue curled her lips and said disdainfully, Moreover, he'll be leaving after a year. He won't be with us anymore. Why should we care about him? We'll be together this year. Sun Lihua comforted her gently and pulled her arm. Let's go. Mo Tsuetsue helplessly followed her out. She turned around and glared at Chu Li, who was following her, and sneered. You're quite shameless. Why are you following a woman like us? Chu Li smiled. I don't know anything. Of course I'll follow Senior Sister Sunday. If you don't want to follow us, it's up to you. You! Mo Tsuetsue was furious. She gritted her teeth. You're such a useless piece of trash. A man should follow a woman. Chu Li smiled without saying a word. All right. Sun Lihua quickly pulled Mo Tsuetsue away. I've heard about what happened to your cousin. Junior brother Zhao has already been punished. He deserves to die. Mo Tsuetsue scoffed. Sun Lihua said, If he really deserved to die, would the saint forgive him? Chu Li fist saluted. Senior sister Sun is fair. I'm the one who's been wronged the most. I didn't provoke anyone, but your cousin tried to kill me for no reason. She kept on killing me again and again. If I had just accepted it, I would have been killed by her. The 3 of them chatted as they left the Sutra Library and headed down to the Flavorful Tower. The Flavorful Tower was brightly lit and filled with people. It was extremely lively. Sun Lihua turned to look at Chu Li and whispered, Junior brother Zhao, be careful. Chu Li nodded. He realized that Senior Sister Sun was gentle and kind. Mo Tsuetsue smirked and pursed her lip. The three of them entered the first floor and took their plates and the food they wanted to eat. They found an empty table and sat down. The first floor of the flavorful tower was similar to a buffet in a hotel in his past life. They could order whatever they wanted as long as they did not waste anything. The best part was that they did not have to pay for their meals. Not long after they sat down, Song Donglin brought their plates to their table and sat opposite Sunlihua. He chuckled. "I hope I'm not bothering you?" Emote Suetsue smiled and picked up her plate. "Then I won't bother you anymore, junior brother Zhao." Chuli reluctantly picked up his plate and nodded at Song Donglin with a smile. Sunlihua said, "What are you doing?" Chapter 36-68. Emote Suetsue giggled. "Aren't we just asking for trouble here? Don't make a fuss. Just sit down." Sunlihua rolled her eyes at her and turned to Chuli. "You're not allowed to leave, junior brother Zhao." Chuli smiled. "I'm just worried that senior brother Song won't be happy." Song Donglin chuckled and said, "It's more lively when everyone is together. I'm happy just sitting next to Lihua." Sunlihua glared at him. "What nonsense are you talking about?" "All right, I won't say anything." Song Donglin laughed. Right at this moment, two young men swaggered over and stood beside the table. Chuli looked up at them. Both of them were handsome, but their expressions were arrogant. They looked down at the four of them and their eyes fell on Chuli. "You're Zhao Dave?" Chuli nodded. "I am." "Very good." The tall and strong young man sneered. "I heard you're the first to enter the mountain." Chuli nodded. "You're the ugliest person in the history of the Holy Church of Light." The tall and strong young man scoffed. The other young man nodded. "You're really ugly. Look at the entire flavorful tower. Is there anyone uglier than you? If you can find one, I'll call you senior brother." Chuli frowned. "What are you guys doing?" Song Donglin and Sunlihua looked at the two unhappily. Chui, what are you guys doing?" Song Donglin frowned. "It's time to eat." "Hey, senior brother Song." Chueda grinned as if he had just noticed Song Donglin. He fist saluted. "I didn't see senior brother Song and senior sister Sun here. My apologies." Sunlihua frowned. She had a gentle personality and would not say anything even if she was unhappy. Emote Suetsue watched the show from the sidelines. "What are you guys doing?" Song Donglin scoffed. "Do you have nothing better to do?" "Senior brother Song, you're wrong. We're just here to admire the glory of the first place." The tall and strong young man, Chueda, chuckled. "That's all. I'm really disappointed. What an embarrassment to the first place. Don't judge a book by its cover." Song Donglin scoffed. "If you two brothers have nothing better to do, hurry up and return to the Spirit Medicine Nursery. We're just here to admire the glory of the number one. It's not against the rules, is it?" Chueda chuckled. "Senior brother Song, why are you with him? Don't forget that we're all inner disciples." "What inner peak and outer peak? They're all disciples of the sect." Song Donglin waved his hand and said, "Don't be so narrow-minded. We've already seen what we should pay our respects to. Hurry up and leave." "Not yet." Chueda chuckled. "I want to say a few words to number one." "Hurry up and speak." Song Donglin harumphed. Chuli frowned as he looked at the two of them. "Chueda Deo, I say, junior brother Zhao, you look like a bear and you still have the cheek to enter the peak. You're really a disgrace to our holy sect." Chuli glared at them coldly. Chueda said smugly, "If I looked like this, I would have killed myself a long time ago and reincarnated early. I'll reincarnate into a better body in my next life and not be so ugly." "Junior brother Chueda." Sunlihua finally could not hold it in any longer and said, "Watch your words." "Chueda, senior sister Sun, I'm telling the truth. Is there anything wrong with that? What are you guys trying to do?" Sunlihua frowned and scoffed. "There's no grudge between us. Why are you looking for trouble?" Of course there's no grudge between us. Chueda nodded. But I just don't like this Zhao Dai. What can I do? We're all from the same faction. Sun Lihua said. Chueda shook his head. I'm ashamed to be from the same faction as him. He's too ugly. Chu Li took a deep breath and asked in a low voice, Who ordered you guys to do this? Chueda and Cui Er looked at him with a faint smile. Haha, ordered? Chueda laughed. Ordered us to look for trouble with you. Who are you? You really think too highly of yourself. Chu Li said, Since no one ordered you guys to do this, then get lost. Oh good boy. You're really the champion. How arrogant. Chueda chuckled. You want us to get lost? Chu Li said coldly. You guys only dare to be so presumptuous because you can't fight in the peak. You're full of sh*t. I can kill trash like you guys with one swing of my sword. Trash. Bastard. Chueda was furious. Cui Er also glared at him. Chu Li scoffed coldly. Why? You guys want to fight? Don't forget the rules. The two of them kept on cursing and refused to leave. Chu Li could tell that they were trying to provoke him and force him to fight. Chu Li picked up his chopsticks and slowly ate his food. Occasionally, he would take a sip of his soup. It was as if he did not hear their curses and ignored them. Sun Lihua frowned while Emotsuetsue was gloating. Song Donglin's face was green, but he could not do anything. He had already scolded Chueda and Cui Er twice, but they were determined not to leave. Song Donglin could not do anything. The scene quickly attracted the attention of the people around them. They were all laughing and watching the show. Chu Li saw Duan Qi and Ji Ziwei in the crowd. They looked at him with surprise and some sympathy. The two of them hated Chu Li too. They had trained hard for 10 years, but he had stolen the first place. The people around them looked like they were watching a good show. They saw it as a farce, but no one bothered to intervene. They just wanted to watch the show. Chu Li suddenly yelled, Shut up! His yell was like thunder in the clear sky. It was sudden and loud. The crowd instantly fell silent. Chu Li wiped his face and said coldly, Your saliva sprayed on my face. Nonsense. Cui Da's expression changed. Don't you dare slander us. We're so far away. How could our saliva have sprayed on your face? Chu Li said coldly, You guys were talking so loudly. Look at Senior Sister Mo and Senior Sister Sun's expressions. I know your saliva is flying over. Emotsuetsue was about to open her mouth but closed it again. Chueda scoffed, Zhao, you want to fight, right? Chu Li said, You spat on my face. It's only right for me to fight back. Even if I kill you, I'll just cripple your martial arts. I won't expel you or take back your inheritance, right? You're slandering us. Cui Er shouted. Chu Li said, If you two don't get lost, I'll kill you. Don't you dare. Chueda shouted. Chu Li stared at him coldly. Boss, let's make a move first. Cui Er could not help but shiver when he met Chu Li's cold gaze from his triangular eyes. He could feel Chu Li's murderous intent. He felt an inexplicable fear. Chu Li had killed so many people. Once his murderous intent condensed, it would become solid. It would be a great deterrent to the weak-willed. I'll let you go today. Chueda said coldly and turned to leave. Cui Er quickly followed. Chu Li frowned and stared at them. His gaze followed them far away. Song Donglin and the other two looked at Chu Li strangely. They thought to themselves that he was indeed the champion. He was not a simple character. Chu Li glanced at Emotsuetsue. Senior Sister Mo must be disappointed? Why would I be disappointed? Emotsuetsue quickly replied. Chapter 36-69. Emotsuetsue scoffed. Don't spout nonsense. Chu Li shook his head. I only offended altar leader Mo. Why would they pick a fight with me for no reason? Of course, someone instructed them. I wonder what benefits altar leader Mo promised them? Don't spout nonsense. My father isn't that kind of person. Tsue scoffed. You'll be punished if you spout nonsense. Chu Li shook his head. I'm just a little disappointed in altar leader Mo. No wonder Mo Qingqing did what she did. She was influenced by her uncle. She was unscrupulous and eager for quick success. In the end, she got herself killed. In the end, altar leader Mo killed Mo Qingqing. Shut up! Mo Tsue yelled. Chu Li shook his head and sighed. He lowered his head and continued eating. Sun Lihua smiled. Junior brother Zhao, you're really calm. You can still eat. If he was in Zhao Dai's shoes, he would be so angry that he would not be able to eat his meal. However, junior brother Zhao Dai was enjoying his meal and was not affected at all. How admirable! Chu Li smiled. It's not worth it to ruin my appetite for two idiots. Junior brother Zhao, you're really open-minded. Song Donglin gave him a thumbs up. Actually, don't lower yourself to their level. These two brothers' martial arts are very ordinary. They were only assigned to the spirit medicine nursery at the bottom. They must be jealous of you. Chu Li nodded. I'm just worried that they won't let it go. They'll come again. That can't be. Song Donglin frowned. They've been here once. They'll just vent their anger. Chu Li scoffed. I'm just worried that they've been bewitched by someone else and have been promised benefits. He glanced at Mo Tsue as he spoke. Mo Tsue was annoyed. Why are you looking at me? Chu Li shook his head and said no more. Song Donglin glanced at Mo Tsue and shook his head as well. An altar leader was a powerful person. His words could decide their fate. No matter how arrogant he was, he would not dare to offend him. Sun Lihua whispered, Junior sister Mo, if it's really altar leader Mo, please advise him not to make things too ugly. Mo Tsue was annoyed. Senior sister Sun, do you really believe his nonsense? There's something strange about this, Sun Lihua said. Mo Tsue scoffed. My father would never resort to such lowly tactics. If he really wanted to take care of him, would he even need to go through all this trouble? That's true. Sun Lihua nodded lightly. Mo Tsue said, the one with the surname Zhao, it's your fault for being number one. You're so hateful. Chu Li smiled and said nothing more. After the meal, they returned to the sutra depository. The place they lived in was the room in the sutra depository, which was extremely cramped. Chu Li, on the other hand, slept soundly. Accompanied by the fragrance of books, it was exceptionally peaceful and comfortable. It was rare that he did not cultivate and slept soundly the whole night. The next day was no different. He was still carefree and no one cared about him. As long as he finished cleaning the sutra depository at night, he could read and practice during the day. From Sun Lihua, he found out that there was a martial arts field where he could practice. Moreover, he also knew that the martial arts field was not only a place for him to train, but also to spar with others and challenge others. As long as there was a senior supervising them, they could challenge each other. It wouldn't count as killing each other. If they fought after leaving the training grounds, it would count as killing each other. Therefore, if there were any grudges, they could settle it at the martial arts field and challenge each other face to face. The next evening, Chu Li, Sun Lihua, and Mo Tsue ate together. As soon as they arrived at the flavorful tower and took their food, Cui De and Cui Er staggered over and looked at Chu Li with a cold smile. Chu Li glanced at the two of them and uttered, "Scram?" Cui De chuckled. "We won't scram. Zhao Dave, you look so ugly and you still have the nerve to sit with senior sister Sun and junior sister Mo. You're really shameless." Chu Li picked up his chopsticks and slowly picked up an unknown vegetable. He chewed it slowly and it tasted sweet. He had never eaten such a dish anywhere else. The flavorful tower lived up to its name. The dishes were extremely sumptuous and Chu Li had never seen many of them before. They might be specialties from the Li dynasty or the Great Light Peak, but they all tasted delicious. Cui De continued, "If it were me, I would have felt ashamed and stayed alone. I wouldn't bother senior sister Sun and junior sister Mo, senior brother Chui Da, junior brother Zhao didn't bother me. Sun Lihua frowned and said unhappily, also, what are you guys trying to do? We're all brothers from the same faction. Why do you guys have to mess around like this? We're just talking to him so he can be more self-aware. Chui Da waved his hand. Senior sister Sun, you're innocent and kind. You don't know how sinister people can be. He's an outer peak disciple. He's unscrupulous. It's better to be cautious. He's not as innocent as inner peak disciples like us. Chu Li asked, You guys are innocent? He shook his head. You guys are stupid. You two idiot. Don't you feel embarrassed? I'm embarrassed for you. Zhao, who's embarrassing us? Chui Da scoffed. No matter how embarrassing we are, it's still better than you, you ugly bastard. Chu Li said, You two are just two ugly bastards. Instead of thinking about how to cultivate, you always think of evil ways. It'd be strange if you're strong in martial arts. Let me give you a piece of advice. Hurry up and leave the mountain. Don't embarrass your parents. I don't know how your parents raised you. Zhao, how dare you scold our parents? Chui Da scoffed angrily and narrowed his eyes. Chu Li sneered. Why? Who are your parents that I can't scold them? All right. Zhao, you're so ugly. I don't think you can blame yourself. You should blame your parents. They're two ugly bastards. That's why they have an ugly bastard like you. Chui Da pointed at him with a look of disdain. They're so ugly. Why did they have a child? Isn't that just harming you? Chu Li sat calmly and said, You're right. They're guilty. They abandoned me when I was young. I've never seen these two bastards. The two were stunned. Chu Li said lazily, If you two don't want to be scolded, then scram. Otherwise, I'll have more vicious words waiting for you. Not only your parents, but your ancestors as well. How dare you? Chui Da scoffed. Chu Li said, If you dare, why wouldn't I? Do you dare to fight me? Even if you do, why would I be afraid of you? You don't believe me when I say you're stupid. You're asking for trouble when you don't have the strength. Zhao, we'll meet at the martial arts field. Chui Da scoffed. Chu Li said, You two are useless. You want to fight me? We want to spar with palm techniques, Chui Da said. Chu Li raised his eyebrows. Let's challenge the light blade then. The challenger can choose the martial arts. Chui Er chuckled. If you dare to accept the challenge, then use palm technique. If you don't, then forget it. Chu Li slowly said, All right, then I'll accept the challenge. Don't even think about challenging our light blade. We won't accept the challenge. Chui Er said proudly. You're the champion. It's not embarrassing if we don't accept the challenge. He became even more pleased. Chapter 3670. Zhao, come. Let's go to the training field and fight now. Chui Da shouted. Chu Li scoffed. Trash, like you really dare to fight me? What's there to be afraid of? Zhao, we've always wanted to see what kind of abilities you, the champion, have. Chu Li sighed. You're asking for it. Zhao, you keep making excuses. Are you afraid now? Chui Da scoffed. Chu Li shook his head. Let's talk about it after dinner. You won't run away after eating, right? Chui Er asked. Chu Li glanced at the two of them and said faintly, You're gauging the heart of a gentleman with your own mean measure. Do you think I need to run to deal with you two pieces of trash? All right. Chui Da scoffed. The monk can run, but the temple can't. We'll wait for your arrival at the training field. Chu Li waved his hand impatiently. The two of them snorted, turned around, and left. Chu Li shook his head. Sun Lihua whispered, Junior brother Zhao, are you really going to accept the challenge? Chu Li sighed. If I don't accept the challenge, will they stop? Gather? Love enzyme? Embedded? Thud. Thud. Although their kung fu isn't as good as yours, their cultivation isn't weak either. It's said that the Qingfeng palm they practice is very exquisite and powerful, Sun Lihua said. Chu Li replied, it's all right. Sun Lihua said, also, junior brother Zhao, it's okay to get hurt during the challenge. You can seriously injure them, but you can't hurt their foundation. Destroying their cultivation is tantamount to killing each other, and you'll be punished according to the sect rules. They're looking for you to vent their anger, so even if you can't beat them, you don't have to worry, Sun Lihua said in a low voice. Chu Li smiled bitterly. Does Sister Sun really think that I'm no match for them? Since they dared to challenge us, they must be confident, Sun Lihua said. They might have a trump card up their sleeves. You have to be careful. Everyone knew that Zhao Dai's cultivation level was weak. It was only because he had cultivated his light blade to an extremely high level that he was able to make it to the top. Thank you, Senior Sister Sun, Chu Li said. Zhao, all you have is the light blade. Emo Tsue said sarcastically. His cultivation level is a mess. He's no match for them in terms of palm techniques. Chu Li glared at her. You're still denying that it wasn't altar leader Mo who ordered you to do this. No. Emo Tsue scoffed. Chu Li lowered his head and continued eating. By the time he finished his meal, Sun Lihua and Emo Tsue were already waiting for him. Song Donglin put down his chopsticks and said, Come on, let's go to the martial arts arena. Everyone exited the flavorful tower and walked down more than 200 meters before arriving at a forest. They entered the depths of the forest and arrived at a wide open space surrounded by dense trees. It was the martial arts field. The ground of the training field was paved with white sand. Under the moonlight, it glowed with a warm brilliance. It was as if the brilliance of the moon had been gathered here. There was no need for a torch to illuminate the training field. The surroundings were covered by the dense forest, so the astral winds couldn't enter this place. The wind was calm and the waves were calm. Although it wasn't warm enough, it was still much better than the top of the mountain. There were more than 20 people training in the martial arts field. Chueda and Chui Air were fighting with their palms. Their palms were like the wind, but the sky was filled with palm shadows. Their palms could not be seen, and there was almost no time for their palms to collide. They were constantly looking for an opening to attack, and their bodies were as agile as the wind. Chu Li frowned. These two were really extraordinary. Elder Yang, we want to challenge them, Chueda shouted when he saw Chu Li and the others. His voice was so loud that everyone could hear him. An elder with a white beard and eyebrows floated over and asked, Who do you want to challenge? Chueda pointed at Chu Li. I want to challenge Zhao Dai's palm technique. Elder Yang stroked his beard and looked at Chu Li, his eyes scanning his face. Most of the disciples in the Great Light Peak were good-looking people. Even if they had ordinary looks, they would not be as ugly as Chu Li. He had never seen someone as ugly as Chu Li. The first few generations of the Holy Church of Light's disciples might have been selected because of their appearance. Later on, even if it wasn't as important, the later generations were better than their predecessors. Therefore, most of the disciples in the Holy Church of Light were good-looking and rarely ugly. Chu Li scoffed. I accept the challenge. Elder Yang stroked his beard. All right, palm technique. Chueda jumped into the field and waved at Chu Li. Come, I want to see how powerful the champion is. Chu Li glided over to him. More than 20 people surrounded them, forming a large circle as they watched the two of them face off. Watch out! Chueda shouted and turned into a gust of wind that swept toward Chu Li. Chu Li went up to him and his palms suddenly grew larger. They were like cattail leaf fans. Bang! Bang! Two muffled sounds were heard and both of them took a step back. It was hard to tell who had the upper hand. Chueda shouted excitedly, That's all you got. Take this. Chu Li went up to him. When Chueda collided with Chu Li's palms, he suddenly tilted his body and pressed his palms against Chu Li's chest. He had already planned to take advantage of Chu Li's underestimation of his enemy to give him a vicious blow and defeat him in one move. Moreover, he saw that Chu Li's palm technique was clumsy. He relied on his great strength and could not restrain Cui Da's light palm technique. Chu Li's palms missed, but he suddenly increased his speed and his palms disappeared. The people around them saw two lotuses slowly blooming. Bang! Chu Li's palms hit Cui Da's chest. Cui Da's palms almost hit Chu Li but missed by half a foot. He flew out in a beautiful arc in the air. Boss! Cui Air flew up to catch Cui Da, who was falling. Cui Da clutched his chest with blood at the corner of his mouth. Cui Da, are you okay? Cui Air asked. Cui Da shook his head and stared at Chu Li. Good palm technique. He let go of his hands and revealed two clear palm prints on his chest. They were clearly imprinted on his green shirt. His shirt had been shredded and his fair skin was exposed. What a vicious palm technique! Cui Air cursed. Let me see. Chu Li nodded. Come. Floating flower palm? Someone whispered. Sun Lihua said, it's floating flower palm. Emote Tsue scoffed. What kind of palm technique is that? There were thousands or even hundreds of thousands of martial arts in the sutra library. It was impossible to see all of them. Song Donglin said, the first one should be giant spirit palm and the second one should be floating flower palm. They are both top-notch antique studies. I didn't expect junior brother Zhao to learn these two palm techniques in 2 days. What a genius! They knew that Outer Mountain disciples only cultivated basic martial arts and did not cultivate miscellaneous martial arts. Zhao Dai must have taken advantage of the two palm techniques that he had seen in the sutra library over the past 2 days and successfully cultivated them. His martial arts talent must be amazing to be able to learn these two palm techniques in 2 days. Cui Air went up and fought with Chu Li. Bang bang! Cui Air flew out and landed heavily on the ground. He also used breeze palm. Chu Li's two palm techniques were able to counter him. Most importantly, he had the nature restoration manifestation and omniscient mirror. Defeating them was a piece of cake. I'm Qin Huaichuan. I would like to experience junior brother Zhao's palm technique. A handsome young man walked out from the crowd. He closed fist saluted and said, I hope junior brother Zhao will not be stingy with your advice. Chu Li's expression was solemn as he frowned at him. Chapter 36-71. Qin Huaichuan was handsome and tall. Although he had a smile on his face, his eyes were sharp. His cultivation level was 2 levels higher than Chu Li's. If they were to compete in palm techniques, Chu Li had no chance of winning. What was worse was that Qin Huaichuan possessed extraordinary martial arts that could block Chu Li's omniscient mirror. Even if he could use the nature restoration manifestation, he might not win. Qin Huaichuan gave a fist salute and smiled. I'm also a newcomer in the Divine Weapon Hall. I'm slightly inferior to Junior Sister Sun and Junior Sister Mo. I'd like to experience the glory of the top Outer Mountain disciple. Junior brother Zhao, you won't reject the challenge, right? Chu Li glanced at the people around him. They looked like they were waiting for a good show. When they saw his hesitation, they smiled sarcastically. Most of them were direct disciples, but there were also Outer Mountain disciples like Duan Qi. Everyone was hostile toward him. The direct disciples were cautious and instinctively hostile. They felt that outsiders had invaded their territory and the Outer Mountain disciples were in their way because he was in their way. If he was the second place, the Outer Mountain disciples would not hate him. Instead, they would flatter him and unite against outsiders. After all, the Outer Mountain disciples were the minority in Great Light Peak. Chu Li shook his head and sighed. This was human nature. It was really disappointing. Junior brother Zhao, are you really not accepting my challenge? Qin Huaichuan smiled faintly. Don't worry, I'm only 3rd place. I can't compare to junior sister Sun and junior sister Mo. Junior brother Zhao, you're the champion. Do you not dare to fight me? Chu Li remained silent. Although he did not know what martial arts Qin Huaichuan cultivated, it was not ordinary. He should not be underestimated. It was hard to predict the outcome. He then smiled. So what if he won or lost? Even if everyone challenged him today, he would fight them one by one. He would beat them until they were convinced that he was the champion. With a heroic spirit, he said, "All right, I accept." Palm techniques? Elder Yang asked. Qin Huaichuan smiled. Thank you, Elder Yang. We'll challenge palm techniques and won't cause trouble for you. It's good that you know. Elder Yang scoffed. Let's begin. As the supervisor of the challenge, he would also be implicated if there were any incidents of internal strife. Qin Huaichuan looked at Chu Li and smiled. Junior brother Zhao, please. Please. Chu Li scoffed. Qin Huaichuan abruptly thrust his palm forward. His body movement technique was as fast as lightning as he instantly appeared behind Chu Li. Chu Li flipped his body and struck out with his palm. It was as if a flower was slowly blooming in the air. Qin Huaichuan dodged the attack and launched another palm attack. Chu Li followed suit and another flower bloomed in the air. The two of them were entangled, and it was difficult to determine the victor for the time being. Qin Huaichuan's body movement technique was extraordinarily fast and was not inferior to Chu Li's. Chu Li's divine light body had reached an extremely high level, which allowed his body movement technique to be even faster. Even though his cultivation level was not as high as Qin Huaichuan's, his light body technique was still able to match Qin Huaichuan's, and he would not be at a disadvantage. This is the soaring eagle palm, whispered Song Donglin. Sun Lihua lightly nodded her head and said, Junior brother Zhao doesn't look too good. Emo Tsui snorted and said, It's good that you lost. Song Donglin smiled. It doesn't matter even if he loses. He's still in first place. His most powerful move is his light blade. No one can withstand it. Sun Lihua said, Junior martial brother Qin's palm technique is exquisite. It's far stronger than when we fought. It seems like he held back. Perhaps junior brother Qin suddenly had an epiphany that allowed him to improve by leaps and bounds. That's why he's not convinced of junior brother Zhao's superiority, Song Donglin said. Sun Lihua nodded. Emo Tsue softly scoffed and shook her head to herself. Senior brother Song and senior sister Sun were really naive. Bam bam. Both of them hit each other with their palms. Chu Li only felt that his inner energy was pure and profound. It entered his body and wreaked havoc. He ignored them and his palms suddenly disappeared from everyone's sight. It was as if two more lotuses had bloomed in the air. Bam! Qin Huaichuan was sent flying. He clutched his abdomen and stared at Chu Li in disbelief. Oh no! Song Donglin exclaimed. Sun Lihua frowned. When they saw Qin Huaichuan clutching his abdomen, they knew that something was wrong. That spot was too sensitive. Once the dantian was hit, it would be damaged and his cultivation level destroyed. That would be troublesome. It would be equivalent to destroying one's martial arts and killing one another. Emo Tsue smiled sweetly. Everyone noticed that Qin Huaichuan's cultivation level was rapidly disappearing. The glow on his body dimmed in the blink of an eye. Elder Yang flashed in front of Qin Huaichuan and quickly poked his body a few times. Then, he took out a pill and stuffed it into his mouth. Qin Huaichuan said bitterly, Elder Yang, my cultivation level has been destroyed. Elder Yang said in a low voice, You're still young. Don't worry. You'll have to start from scratch. Qin Huaichuan shook his head and smiled bitterly. Seeing how calm he was, Elder Yang nodded to himself and said gently, You have a good aptitude. You'll be able to recover in a year. You'll be able to catch up to them in no time. Chu Li frowned and stared at Qin Huaichuan. He took a deep breath and shook his head. He finally understood Altar Leader Mo's tactic. Qin Huaichuan was not here to destroy his cultivation level. He was here to frame him. Chu Li's palm attack was insignificant. It would not hurt his dantian or destroy his cultivation level. That palm attack was initially aimed at his chest. Qin Huaichuan's chest turned into his abdomen at the critical moment and hit his dantian. Seeing that the situation was bad, Chu Li withdrew his palm energy. When Qin Huaichuan clutched his abdomen, he secretly used his palm energy and injured himself. His cultivation level was now gone. No one would have thought that Qin Huaichuan would do that. Chu Li knew that a miracle cure pill was not difficult for a powerful person like Altar Leader Mo. With Altar Leader Mo's help, recovering his cultivation level would be a piece of cake. One miracle cure pill was enough to break the rules. Everyone stared at him. Some of them were pitying him while some were gloating over his misfortune. Zhao Dai was done for breaking the rule of not killing each other. Elder Yang let go of Qin Huaichuan and went to Chu Li. He sized him up and sighed. Zhao Dai, Chu Li asked, Elder Yang, how will I be punished? The torture chamber will take care of it. Elder Yang shook his head. Fortunately, his martial arts was only crippled. His life is not in danger. Chu Li smiled bitterly. I've caused trouble for you, Elder Yang. Elder Yang said helplessly, who would have thought that this would happen? You were too heavy-handed. I made a mistake. Chu Li shook his head. It's my first time meeting senior brother Qin. I have no grudge against him. Why did I have to kill him? Yes, that's right. Elder Yang nodded. I'll plead for you. Thank you, Elder Yang. Chu Li fist saluted. Elder Yang sighed and waved his hand. He narrowed his eyes and glanced at Qin Huaichuan. Qin Huaichuan sat cross-legged on the ground and closed his eyes to channel. He was trying to recover his lost cultivation level. A moment later, two young women dressed in purple stepped forward and asked, Which one of you is Zhao Dai? They were a few years older than Chu Li. They were about 24 or 25 years old, and looked more graceful than a young girl. Of course, it was difficult to tell the age of a woman with profound inner energy. I am. Chu Li raised his hand. Let's go. The two young women in purple waved. Follow us to the torture chamber. Yes. Chu Li nodded happily and walked towards them. Sun Lihua stepped forward. Junior brother Zhao. Song Donglin sighed. Junior brother Zhao, take care. Emo Tsue stepped forward and smiled at him. Chu Li scoffed. Altar Leader Mo is really good. I'm impressed. Now you know how powerful I am. Emo Tsue scoffed. However, you've broken the rules. No matter what, you'll be punished. Chapter 36-72. Let's go. The two ladies in purple nodded slightly and led the way. Chu Li slowly left the martial arts field under everyone's gaze, causing them to sigh. Even if they were hostile towards Chu Li and wanted nothing more than to get rid of him, they could empathize with him when they saw him being like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered in front of the torture chamber disciples and became fearful of the church's rules. The strong wind was piercingly cold and felt like knives on their faces. The fragrance on their bodies had almost dissipated, but Chu Li's sense of smell was exceptionally sensitive. He smelled their faint fragrance and slowly walked down. His mind raced as he walked. No matter how severe the punishment he received in the torture chamber was, it would not be enough to expel him from the sect and cripple his martial arts. After all, this was just a competition and it was considered an unintentional mistake. It was different from intentionally killing or crippling someone's martial art. Qin Huaichuan was all smiles and did not seem hostile at all, but he suddenly plotted against Chu Li without batting an eyelid. Chu Li could not peek into such a person's mind, and his cultivation level was higher than Chu Li's. He was a formidable opponent. Unfortunately, Chu Li could not kill him with a light blade since he was at great light peak. He must take revenge and find a chance. As he thought about this, he was led by the two ladies to a basilica. The two ladies turned to look at him and nodded in satisfaction when they saw how obedient he was. This is the torture chamber. If you have any grievances later, you can tell the deputy clan leader face to face. The deputy clan leader is impartial and will never wrong you. Yes, thank you, senior sisters. Chu Fist saluted. The two ladies led him into the basilica. It was as warm as spring and the strong wind instantly disappeared. He had already noticed the strangeness of the basilica. It was wind-repelling and there was no formation. It was obviously related to the materials used to build the basilica. The basilica was empty. The thick and soft carpet seemed to be patterned with a ferocious tiger that exuded an awe-inspiring aura. Several ferocious beasts were hung on the wall. The entire basilica seemed to be hell and it was chilling. There was a wide and long desk under the north wall. A slender and graceful lady in purple was sitting behind the desk and reading a book. When she heard footsteps, she put down her book and looked over. Her eyes were as clear as autumn water, gentle and charming. This lady was about the same age as Li Rulan. She was less than 30 years old. Her womanly charm was fully displayed and her gaze was captivating. Hall Master Xia, I've brought Zhao Dai here. Zhao Dai? Clan leader Xia sized him up and said calmly, Zhao Dai was lured here by Li Rulan? Chu Li was stunned. Hall Master Xia said, I'm Xia Shui. Li Rulan must have mentioned me before, right? Chu Li was surprised. Senior Sister Xia? Xia Shui nodded. It's me. I didn't expect to see Senior Sister Xia here, Chu Li said. At that time, he had asked Sun Lihua. Sun Lihua only knew that Xia Shui was in the penalty hall, but she did not know that Xia Shui was the Vice Hall Master. Perhaps this Vice Hall Master had just been appointed, or the penalty hall was too mysterious to the disciples. Xia Shui said, You didn't expect to see me here. Li Rulan did. She asked me to watch over you. Sure enough, you caused trouble the moment you came in. Chu Li smiled bitterly. He didn't want to say that he was framed, but since it was Xia Shui, there was no harm in mentioning it. He fought with Qin Huaichuan and crippled his martial arts? Xia Shui picked up a dossier and scanned through it. Then, she asked calmly, Do you know this Qin Huaichuan? This is the first time I've met him, Chu Li said. Qin Huaichuan is considered one of the best among the younger generation. Your cultivation level isn't as good as his, right? Xia Shui asked. Chu Li nodded. I've cultivated the giant spirit palm and floating flower palm. Xia Shui nodded. It seems that you're indeed a genius, but it's true that you injured his dantian. Chu Li sighed. He wanted to hurt himself. How could I stop him? He framed you? Xia Shui asked. Chu Li nodded. Xia Shui pondered for a moment. No matter what, it's a fact that you violated the rules. It's hard to find out whether he framed you or not. You can only deal with it according to the fact. I'll get Elder Yang to investigate. Chu Li Fist saluted. Thank you, clan leader Xia. You've destroyed Qin Huaichuan's cultivation level. Your punishment is to leave the Sutra Library and be demoted to a medicine boy in the Spirit Medicine Nursery for a year. Xia Shui said. Don't cause any more trouble when you're in the Spirit Medicine Nursery. Chu Li sighed. I don't want to cause trouble, but trouble always comes to me. I'll inform Altar Leader Mo, Xia Shui said. I don't think he'll dare to do anything again. Yes. Chu Li Fist saluted. Thank you, clan leader Xia. Xia Shui's words were definitely effective, because Mo Tsue was here. If Altar Leader Mo insisted on messing around, Mo Tsue would be the unlucky one in the end. It was not a problem to avenge his dead niece, but if it involved his daughter, then he would have to consider it carefully. Xia Shui said, The Spirit Medicine Nursery is tough, but you can learn something. You cultivate very quickly, so it might not affect your cultivation. There were originally 3 people in the Spirit Medicine Nursery. After I go, will Chueda and Chui Er leave? The outer mountain disciples will advance by one. The original second place will enter the Sutra Library, which means your ranking will become fifth. I see. Chu Li nodded slowly. He was with Chueda and Chui Er, so he could teach the two brothers a lesson. Even if Chueda and Chui Er did not know about this incident, they were instigated to provoke him, which led him to the martial arts field, where he fought with Qin Huaichuan, one after another. Qin Huaichuan's methods were brilliant. Regarding Chueda and Chui Er, don't go too far. Xia Shui seemed to have read Chu Li's mind and said calmly, their aptitudes are ordinary, but their parents are not ordinary people. Even if it's not for the sake of the monks, it's for the sake of the Buddha. Chu Li said slowly, Clan leader, don't worry, I know what I'm doing. This is a book of rules, take it and read it carefully. Xia Shui tossed a thick book to Chu Li. Chu Li reached out and caught it. Xia Shui said, all right, go. Chu Li fist saluted. Two young purple-clothed girls walked in front of him and led him down the mountain. The coldness faded bit by bit, and the strong wind weakened bit by bit until they arrived at a huge valley at the foot of the mountain. It was as warm as spring, and there was no howling wind at all. It felt like he was in another world. He was particularly sensitive to the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. As soon as he stepped out of the valley, he felt that it was full of spiritual energy. It turned out to be an excellent place to cultivate. With the omniscient mirror, he saw a glories will tree. The moonlight shone into the valley like water. The valley was lush and warm like spring. In the middle of the valley was a lush forest, and in the middle of the forest was a towering tree that reached the clouds. It was as straight as a sword, and it was the glories will tree. The growth of the glories will tree was extremely slow, and for it to grow to such a height, it must have taken at least 1,000 years. The valley shrouded by the glories will tree was full of spiritual energy, and it was the most suitable for the growth of spirit medicine. The Holy Church of Light's resources were indeed extraordinary, and they could even get their hands on the glories will tree. Elder Zhou! Elder Zhou! The two women in purple shouted as they entered the valley. Chapter 36-73. The lady in purple closed fist saluted but did not say anything. She knew it was useless to talk to these four people. Elder Zhou! Elder Zhou! The two ladies in purple called out again. Coming, coming. Why are you calling at night? A plump elder drifted out. He was as round as a ball. His eyebrows and beard were long and white, swaying with the wind. Elder Zhou, we're here to send someone. A lady in purple closed fist saluted and smiled. He was originally the first among the outer mountain disciples. He lost in a sparring match and was sent here for a year. Is that right? Yes. Since junior sister Su wants to stay, Chueda will go to the dining hall. Zhao Dai will enter the spirit medicine nursery. Come in. Elder Zhou waved at Chu Li. The lady in purple said, Zhao Dai, from now on, you'll have to stay in the spirit medicine nursery. Other than eating at the flavorful tower and training at the martial arts field, you'll have to spend the rest of your time in the spirit medicine nursery. Other than the martial arts field and the flavorful tower, you're not allowed to go anywhere else. Yes. Chu Li closed fist saluted. Go in. The lady in purple waved. Chu Li stepped into the ravine. The spiritual energy became denser. Elder Zhou patted Chu Li's shoulder with his chubby hand. First place. Not bad, not bad. Ha ha. He laughed in satisfaction. Chu Li closed fist saluted helplessly. Elder Zhou said, My name is Zhou Huang. You can call me Elder Zhou. I'm in charge of you. Come, follow me. You'll take over Chui Da's garden. He's an idiot and messed it up. You're out of luck. He brought Chu Li into the ravine. They passed by many houses. The houses were surrounded by railings from afar. Within the railings were about 2 acres of spirit medicine. The moonlight was like water. Everyone was still busy in the spirit medicine nursery. They were all middle-aged men and women. Finally, they arrived at the innermost spirit medicine nursery. It was right under the mountain wall. The morning sun did not shine through, so it was the worst spot. The plants would grow slower with less sunlight. Under the moonlight, Chueda was wielding a small and exquisite jasper hoe to remove weed. Chu Li scoffed. Chueda came back so fast. This idiot is too slow at weeding. Zhou Huang glared at Chueda from afar and scoffed. The most troublesome part of the spirit medicine nursery is weeding. These weeds grow much faster than the spirit medicine. They're dense and fast. Once they're discovered, they must be uprooted within a day. Otherwise, the spirit medicine will be affected and its quality and quantity will decrease. Chu Li nodded. Zhou Huang said, "Every parterre has a mission. For example, your parterre has to harvest 500 golden glow grass every month. What if I can't complete it?" Chu Li asked. Zhou Huang chuckled. "It's fine if you can't complete it. You can leave the spirit medicine nursery when you're done." Lose the right to challenge next year. That's right. Zhou Huang scoffed. You can't even take care of spirit herbs, so what else can you do? It's better to work honestly. Chu Li smiled bitterly. What if it happens to be completed in the first month of the second year? That's impossible. Zhou Huang said, in the second year in the spirit medicine nursery, if you want to make up for what you've lost in the previous year, you'll have to finish the second year first. Only then can you make up for what you've lost in the previous year. Do you understand? Chu Li nodded slowly. If you can't achieve your goal, Chu Li said with a frown, you won't stay here forever, will you? If you can't complete it in 5 years, you'll have to become an outer mountain disciple. Zhou Huang spread his hands. He pointed at Chueda. I think idiots like him are in great danger. Fortunately, you've come and saved his life. Otherwise, he'll be stuck here for 5 years and kicked out of the Great Light Peak. Chu Li smiled. Looks like I'm his savior. Of course. Zhou Huang scoffed. Young Su is different. She's very talented in growing spirit herbs. She'll definitely exceed the quota. Elder Zhou, I'm also very talented in growing flowers. I've been growing flowers since I was young. Chu Li quickly said, I'm a veteran. What's the reward if I exceed the quota? The reward will be generous, Zhou Huang said. You can be rewarded with a piece of land. You can grow your own spirit herbs, and the herbs you grow will belong to you. You can sell them to the herbalist hall or exchange them for spirit pills with the herbalist hall. Alternatively, you can learn how to refine pills yourself. Chu Li's eyes immediately lit up. Young man, don't bite off more than you can chew. It's not easy to grow spirit herbs. Zhou Huang scoffed. Let's go. Get Chueda out of here. I can't tolerate him for even a moment longer. Then, he raised his voice and shouted, Chueda! Chueda looked up and saw Zhou Huang. He quickly ran over with an exquisite jade hoe. Elder Zhou! You can leave now. You can report to the cafeteria from today onward. Zhou Huang scoffed. Chueda's face was still slightly pale. He had been injured by Chu Li's palm, but it was not a big deal. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.